Hello everyone and welcome back to the letter round 2. Last time we were here, we focus mostly on Rebecca's route. So Isabella's still in the hospital. They tried to get her out of the induced coma, but that didn't go very well. I think the seizures may have hit. Though I'm not sure if it was supposed to just be solely a physical issue or a combination of like ghost, because she was in a coma and the ghost goes into people's nightmares. And now we're starting on Ashton's and maybe Luke's, but I don't know, because the hospital scene was pretty long. And I think we're going to be going through that with Ashton as well. Also, I hope that when I insert this, the portion of this, I didn't miss anything, because I can't remember. I forgot to check, and now I just have to start from here. Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay. There will also be hell to pay if he so much as harms a hair on either Zach or Rebecca's heads. He might have already done so with Isabella, and I wasn't able to do a single thing to keep her safe. I can't let the same mistake happen again. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. It would tarnish his glorious reputation, and he values appearances more than anything. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of it, more than, in fact. And on the off chance he does something, I wouldn't be responsible for my actions.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
For Zachary and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this will simply be another housewarming party. Even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's intuition or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come of it. I can't let my guard down here. Even more so when a familiar car slows to a stop and out comes.
Chief? A friend invited me to go with her.
Well, he actually said it. He used the excuse.
What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs and it almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses, lies. I don't want to accuse him of anything yet. He's someone I've respected since I joined LPD, even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be Chief Inspector of Luxbourne Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke, and what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh shit. I don't want this to end here. If this might still have a connection with what happened to Isabella like I first assumed. Chasing a real person is easier than chasing those supernatural things, and I hope to God I'm right on this one.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table, understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as discarding a dead body.
Yes. Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. That one seems to bite back at me more often than not lately. Whoops. I've set out to change things hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Serves me right for being too idealistic, I guess. That one seems to bite back at me more often than not lately. If what happened at the hospital is meant to convey to convey anything. This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Now here I am standing useless, can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall. The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
It figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this, which seems to happen a lot regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks swell. The storm I left brewing last night is right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
Maybe you even just used me to get into the party.
No. Absolutely not.
You said yes to being my +1, but you were rather excited to just peel yourself off, weren't you? Honestly, I'm feeling a bit used.
I couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I lied to her. I honestly wanted to be there to keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest. By a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. But then Chief showed up, Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just couldn't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out right then and there, hell, if Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what might have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that, doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes, in the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. The hurt.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
I was on official business. Thank you very much. This day is just off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. How do I even go about this? It's confidential. Sorry, Becca. But not everything revolves around you. I got work to do.
It's confidential, Rebecca.
I wonder how many times I've told her that. And not just her, my dad, my mom, Zach, and even Isabella. How many times I've told them what essentially boiled down to mind your own business, to make sure they're all safe, to keep them out of danger. My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as the television portrays it to be. I thought so too as a child. But you see things. Terrible things. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? But boy did I learn. The good guys don't always win. Justice isn't always served. Investigation is not looking at a crime scene once to get a eureka moment. Isn't like playing on a DS game and all you gotta do is poke around and examine items and go, ooh, this is mine now. No. There's a lot of paperwork involved too. It's sleepless nights at the crime lab with the tech guys. Several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains because I'm staking out a place. It's frustration when the bureaucracy hides you from looking into a case any further, or when you know the suspect is guilty but they get away scot-free on a technicality. It's seeing anger and pain and despair with every case.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
Still, the look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain. It hurts me as well, to think that I'm the cause of that. It's a familiar one too, something I've seen a lot over the years. I wonder how long it'll take before Zach starts giving me the same one. Or until I've hurt Isabella in a way that any sincere apology won't ever be enough. What a mess. I'm a mess, and it's the people close to me who have to suffer for it.
Official police business, huh? So you did use me?
I'm not gonna hit around the bush, Rebecca. Yeah, I did. You want me to be truthful? Here I am being truthful. At first I didn't want to go, And then I saw who it was, and I was like, oh shit. I've been on this case for years, and I'm not passing it up. And then I didn't really get anything out of it. Used. The way she utters it just makes me feel like a total scumbag. It's not like I did it all on purpose. But I can't just hold someone else responsible for this, right? Who am I going to blame? The chief? Hannah Wright? Luke Wright? I mean, if Luke wasn't such a scumbag, we wouldn't be in this situation now, would we? Doing so feels like cowardice. It doesn't change the fact that I'm the one who put us in this situation. I couldn't even look at her anymore, with this guilt eating me up inside. But then she laughs. Half-heartedly, with barely a hint of cheer in it, but it's a laugh nevertheless. Honestly, I don't know what to make of that, what to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it is meant to pierce.
Well, the least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped. Kept an ear and an eye out for you. I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
No, I'm a lone wolf detective! I do things by myself. I don't need anyone's help. Do you see that I have a partner? No. The only person I need is Shirley. Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, but the mask she tries so hard for me. I give her a smile of my own, though. I imagine it comes off as unenthusiastic as hers. It's far easier to slip back to banter when it's like this, to just brush everything off. At least this way we wouldn't have to deal with awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashett.
I couldn't stop a wry grin from forming on my lips. She probably still has the photo of that contest, keeps it in her old diary. I never did find either of the two after I threatened to burn them. In the end, I just never brought it up again, hoping she'd just forget about the whole thing. With a small smile on her face is a lot. Those were good times. A lot simpler, a lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us in the first place. It's a dumb notion to believe in, when nothing ever remains constant. Things will inevitably change through the years. In fact, it already has, long ago. Not just with the people we allowed into our respective lives, but also with us as people, as friends. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Not everything has to be, though. Even if it's in the form of a promise I have no idea when I'll be able to fulfill.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something that Rebecca thankfully doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
The situation's already awkward as it is. Dragging this out will only make it more, difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already.
Back to your case again?
I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I have to report to Chief on Monday. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say fuck off, throw my gun and badge at him, become some vigilante, save the day and get my job back. But looking at the closed door of Isabella's apartment, I couldn't bring myself not to act. And after Rebecca's claims last night, if another person important to me ends up in the hospital because I didn't listen, there wouldn't be enough regret in the world. Fuck. I almost came close to losing Isabella.
Well, glad to hear you're talking to someone, at least. Even if it's not me. You sure you're not bothering the professor or anything? Don't you be a cheeky brat now. I'm sure he's a very busy man. You pointed that out yourself last night.
Becca, even if he is, you know he'll make time for me. I'm his favorite after all, aren't I?
An attempt to keep things light again. Bad move, apparently. All I get in response to that is a roll of her eyes and a door being slammed shut in my face.
I probably deserve that.
We'll just have to fix this some other time. By then, her temper is sure to have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. For now, I can't laze around. Gotta attend to things that matter more. Find Professor Clark, deliver the news, and maybe I'll also drop by Zach's, check on him, hear what he has to say. He has also read that damn letter. I might as well while I'm here, playing a paranormal detective, or was it supernatural? I don't remember. Whatever. It wouldn't hurt anyone if I tried to get to the bottom of this. If nothing comes out of this, good. Everyone can shut up about stupid curses and we can finally get back on track with our lives. Onto more important stuff. If there is something.
I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
And so, with a last deep draw of breath, I step out into the morning, setting aside my own problems for now, all while carrying a new set of uncertainties within me. If I'm lucky and Professor Clark has no other obligations today, I know just where to find him. Should I apologize? Show some sympathy? Going into this, I should have thought of something other than just breaking the news to him. As it is, it seems the only thing we can do is feel sorry for each other's misfortunes. In another occasion, under different circumstances, I might have accepted that, but...
And I don't know if I've told you yet, but the one in the news recently, the girl, she was the one you kept mentioning before, yes? The girl you frequently hang out with. They said she briefly worked for them, as their real estate agent for the mansion. I've just heard about it. Although, for what it's worth, I'm sorry about what happened to your friend. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but if this is that man's doing...
Professor, please.
They come out more strained than usual, more than what I'm accustomed to when speaking to the older man. Maybe if things around me hadn't started going beyond my control, the letter, the mansion, the supposed curse behind those, I'd still be quick to blame it all on the bastard too. But as much as I want to keep holding him responsible for it, to add another to his list of sins...
Please don't finish that.
All this time I've prided myself over being the one to always know. But ghosts and curses, these are things completely out of my depth. Professor Clark's right in some way. Things would be so much easier if we just blame Luke Wright for all of this. At least finding evidence would be a breeze, and I'd be all too happy to put him in a place he belongs. Although if he was in any way also complicit to what happened to her, legalities have my hands tied. But maybe that's my fault. I might have missed the tickets to closing the case once and for all last night, if only I had done a better job during the party. But then the commotion. There was Hannah Wright and Rebecca distracting me from my purpose too. I'd include that gate crasher as well, even though it's only for a moment. So many things have gone wrong last night that...
This isn't a prank! I saw something! See? This is why I didn't want to tell you guys! It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Last night, at the party.
But it's real! What do you think I saw? It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
That woman.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her.
Shit. If that was what Isabella had been warning us about, if it was the same thing Rebecca talked about last night, how many of these instances have I dismissed since reading the letter? How many have I ignored and passed off as some effect of fatigue or lack of sleep? Lag of sleep? Even last night, a hallucinogen lacing the food is the first thing I considered, purely because that's what my training dictates. It's a mindset I've grown used to. It's a setting the gears in my head automatically takes in a situation like this. Of course, I'm not discounting all of that yet until I have enough information, something to form a conclusion from. Proof in whatever for it may come. But thinking straight is impossible when all of a sudden all your beliefs are being upturned, in the most violent way possible at that. Jesus. I need a sounding board. I need to talk to someone, and Zach's the best person for that.
I have to go.
Already? Wait, Ashton, where are you?
I don't have time to stop and listen to what the professor has to say. so I bolt up and run like a bat out of hell. Getting back to my car in record time, I don't waste a second to hit the road and drive to Zach's place. If any one of us knows anything about what's going on, who can help sort the muddled mess my mind is, it's gotta be him. He listened to Isabella. Zach's the kind who prefers to laze around his apartment on a weekend, especially after having a busy week like the last one. The big guy is nowhere in sight when I arrive, though. Figures. People don't seem to be where they should be when I need them. Looking around, I find no sign where he might have gone to. He usually leaves a note on his fridge if he's out for the day, just in case someone drops by. As there isn't one, he probably just went out for a quick walk. I hope. Maybe he ran out of eggs or something and went out to buy some. He is out of eggs, after all. Puts my running mind to rest for a while. Really? I'm back at it again with my insistence and trying to skip things. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there isn't, like, any changes really to some of this. But I still gotta go through it. All I can do is sigh as I close it behind me. I'm still worried for my friend, of course. The messy bed suggests he's out in a hurry. He didn't even bother to fold the sheets. That's because the phone is sleeping? Why would he fold the sheets if the phone is still in bed? His cell phone's been left behind as well, another odd thing when he has made it a habit to never leave it behind in case a client
At
calls.
least the locked door points to the fact that it wasn't a forced exit.
I can take comfort in that, but not so much. Anything might happen, and completely letting my guard down is out of the question. In hindsight, I shouldn't have left Rebecca alone either. I'll have to check on her later. In the meantime, Zach. But with no other clue where he is and no other way to contact him, I have no choice but to wait. Sure, I could give the room another thorough run-through, but I don't think Zach would appreciate me upending his place. Besides, I haven't eaten anything yet. Might as well take this chance to cool down a bit, right? Anything to distract myself so that I don't just charge headfirst because of whatever paranoid scheme that comes to mind. Returning to the kitchen, the first thing I see is a bag of chips when I rifle through his cupboards. After muttering a permission and apology its owner won't hear, I grab it, set myself on his old couch, and turn on the television. The scene lights up right as some awful noontime drama starts airing on Channel 9. Nothing like sitting in front of the TV with a mindless drone running in the background to waste away the time. And waste away I do. The afternoon has hit its last few hours when movement comes from the other side of the door and Zach's heavy treads break the monotonous drivel from the TV. The lock clicks, the knob turns, and slowly it swings open to reveal a very exhausted-looking Zach. What, did he run a marathon?
Sup, Z-Man?
Light as my tone might be, his arrival eases the restless edge in me. Who knows what I would have done if something bad happened to another one of my friends. If another minute had gone by without him showing up, I might have resorted to unconventional methods.
Ash, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me Z-Man? And stop breaking into my apartment! I'll call the cops on you, but doing that feels like a joke in itself because you are one.
I didn't. You gave me a key the last time I did that, remember?
After the last one you broke, I can't keep replacing the knob just because you think it'd be amusing to lockpick the hell out of it. And hey, is that my...
It's scary how the friendly banter and easy smile come
You
naturally.
ate all of it! I was saving that one for the weekend!
I'll replace it.
I do it even without thinking, and that speaks volumes about how comfortable I am around him. That's nice, isn't it? What makes me afraid of it, however, is the idea that a time might come where I might just do these without even meaning to, and offend him in some way. The friendship we might be closer than most I've shared with others, but there are boundaries you can't cross without the other's permission. Zach's been respectful of that so far, neither asking about my parents or what happened to them. Me? I bet he'd say not so much. It's also this easy banter that makes me wish we could just stay like this. No worries, no problems. Just potato chips and the debate on whether or not I deserve them. But, as always, I have business. As soon as I see the chance, I take it and ask him about the odd things that have been happening lately, including that letter.
You saw me last night at the housewarming party, Ash. Pretty sure I'm doing fine.
I'm not asking about that. Remember the letter thing Isabella's been yapping on about? I'm asking about that kind of odd.
Well, the dreams, they're a lot worse than usual. There's a woman now, ever since we saw that letter. I don't know if it's the same one Isabella talked about. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. I really don't want to go back to sleep sometimes. Last night was the worst. Anyway, why are you asking about this?
As expected, as we go through all this, Zach starts to look at me like I've grown a second head. Yeah, I would too if there were ever a universe where I was standing in front of myself. Because even as a child, I never believed in ghosts. The lucky charms and mystical items from my mother have often been stored away or given as paltry gifts to those who would appreciate them more. Granted, I haven't eliminated every single possibility here yet, but what else is there to go off on from? I try to stamp down on the annoyance that comes from that thought alone. The worried look Zach shoots my way doesn't help one bit in helping me gather my thoughts either, when that's what I came here for. Somehow everyone's just suddenly so worried about me. It's not like I'm pulling this out of my ass. If even Rebecca claims there's something shady going on, I'm inclined to believe there must be a scrap of truth to it. And when I look at those along with Isabella's warnings, what happened to her, what's occurring around Zach, what has taken place around Lugsborn since Isabella found the letter.
Have you seen the news this morning?
His puzzled expression is enough answer. Of course he hasn't. Another night, another nightmare. The guy most likely went out as soon as he got out of bed to shake the images off. The memories have never really left him. So I show him cycling through the channels until I find one doing a recap of this morning's reports. And there it is. The poor guy is unidentifiable with how badly his body's been burnt. Murder via arson? That's a logical explanation if I was the officer looking into it. Except they couldn't find the source of the fire. The fire didn't even spread.
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Lugsborn police.
They're going to consider spontaneous human combustion soon enough if they don't find anything else. But what's important for everyone to note is the state of the
A
room.
similar writing was found in another victim's room from last week's incident. Both were employees of Briar Realty Corporation. LBN has reached out to the...
Like what happened to Cooper. Hell, I wonder how many other deaths like this that I've missed while I've been looking into Wright. The LPD is already thinking it's a serial killer at this point. How long until they consult the London Metropolitan? I'm not sure. The Anslem Butcher has always been an enigma even to the people within the city. Gone for a few years and then in the next, one body after another is found. Merely handling the case has apparently driven the chief inspector insane years ago. He never did find out who committed those murders. Maybe now this time.
You think this is...
I don't know what to think, Zach.
In the next second, I'm up on my feet and pacing the span of the small room without thinking about it. My body just needs to be busy, moving about, burning out rather than burning my own brain out. Sometimes I do both. But moving helps. Keeps the brain running, healthy body, healthy mind. Or was it the other way around? Fuck. Can't even think coherently right now. I just know there's something. There must be. There has to be.
I should have looked into this when she was still here. Maybe none of this would have happened if I did.
The words slip out of my mouth before I can censor them. The guilt and sorrow, feelings I won't let others even catch a glimpse of until under normal circumstances, all laid bare in this one moment of weakness. Zach will say otherwise. He's always been the optimist, the one who sees the best in people. But such sentiments, or any words of comfort, won't change the truth. That a single sentence of neglect and indifference has cost me someone really dear to me. Again. We've all been given our warning that day in that desperate pleading tone of hers, and I'm the first one who brushed it off. Still, like the usual, Zach tries, the benefit of a doubt I'm not worthy of.
You ain't the only one stuck in this mess, you know.
It's my job to know things, damn it.
This is a whole fucking mess and we're in it blind. The only way to make it worse is if we start running around like a bunch of headless chickens. But I have a concrete plan now, I think. Aside from those writings, there's another thing linking most, if not all, of those victims. The latter I'll still have to look deeper into, of course. However, this little detail has been bothering me since one of the investigating officers brought it up. Even the news has picked up on it. Most of the victims are employees of the same company before their untimely deaths. Briar Realty Corporation. However, my suspicions are mine for the moment. The details are something Zack doesn't need to know until I have something to show. It's enough that he's aware that I have an idea in mind. For his part, Z-Man doesn't push it, and nothing but a heavy silence leads my departure hours later. Seriously, Zack would probably make a more responsible officer than me, if only he had the heart to join the force. But as good as that thought is, I push all of it into the back of my mind as I head for my car. Tonight, I can't stay distracted. The drive to BRCE is a quiet affair, more so of the long-hour wait for the nightfall. Even with the radio blasting lively tunes, the place is rife with tense energy, only a matter of minutes now. But the ticking seconds don't take away the edge, and for the fifth time, I reach out and fiddle with the radio, adjusting and turning the knobs with no real purpose. It's a nervous quirk I've developed and never bothered to correct during stakeout, something to keep my mind occupied during long nights. What I would give to hear Zack, Rebecca's or Isabella's voice right now. Scope ERC out, see if the real estate company has any more information that may be of help. That's the plan. Cooper and Isabella both work on it before.
I take it the investigation isn't going well.
When does it ever? But that's not the problem. No, it's...
Is this about that hit and run from yesterday's morning news? I saw it. I just didn't know if it was the same girl you're always groaning on about. But this just proves it, doesn't it? You don't have a drink.
She might never wake up, G. And we can't find the son of a bitch that thought it was alright just to leave her there in the road.
Can't you just run plates nowadays? I mean, I just got a ticket for a busted taillight the other day, and they were on that quicker than you can say Bob's your uncle.
The footage is a mess for some reason, and the tech guys are trying to clean it up, which just skews me off, you know. Those things are HD traffic and security cams. They haven't failed before.
And you're thinking there's something foul afoot, is that it?
Sure, I could also check the station for full reports. That's the easy, semi-legal way. But I don't want to bump into Chief right now. The guys at the precinct will definitely throw me out on his orders as soon as they see me. Not that my plan right now is any better. I'm just breaking into a different place, more or less. Honestly, it's a toss-up between breaking into this office or into the Wright's mansion. As it stands, I'll have an easier time getting in here first. After all, why would someone want to break into a realty company? Been here many times before anyway, for a few casual visits when I wanted to bug Scaredy Cat. Over the years, I've more or less grown familiar with their security setup and how badly staffed they are. Plus, it's an old building. If the bankruptcy rumors are true, it just means their access protocols might also be outdated. It gives me enough confidence as I exit my car and march towards the building. There are no side entrances, unfortunately. I'm going to have to do this the hard way. All things considered, though, it feels like this might go smoothly.
And where do you think you're going, young man?
Hey there, sir. A nice night we're having, eh?
Hello yourself. It's late. Most offices in this building have already closed up shop for the weekend.
The bloke seems friendly enough, though one can't really tell from his voice alone. He might be the wary sort, for all I know. Keeping an unconcerned face and aloof air won't hurt until I figured how to wiggle myself out of the situation.
Just come back on Monday if you have important business.
He's probably been working here for a few months already, maybe around 4 to 6 months max. Otherwise, he wouldn't recognize me at first glance. I haven't shown my face here since I've been assigned to the firm case a year ago. In the first place, none of their security officers ever lasted a year in service. The longest was around 7.5. I'll give this guy around that before he gets fired or finds a better paying job. For the moment, his too friendly attitude is almost a gift.
Really? Damn. Boss man won't be too happy to hear that.
Boss man?
Sorry, it's my boss, Mr. John. He asked me to get a few things from his table. Important work stuff, you know.
John? From Briar Realty?
Really? Such a bad security. John is the most common name.
The one and only. But this sucks. I didn't realize the office closes early on weekends. Shouldn't have stayed for another movie. Damn. I'm gonna get an earful later. New hire, you see?
Good thing Isabella has been quite open with stories from her office, no matter how mundane they all are. Granted, she rarely talks about her boss, but what I've gleaned from it is enough to fabricate a decent, believable story.
New hires are always so dumb and clueless, I swear. You guys come and go a lot these days, but I suppose that's because they pay you a lot less in commission than the older agents, huh?
You can say that again. But it's nothing hard work can't fix.
Sure, you can do that, if this branch stays afloat.
What do you mean?
You know, stuff in the news.
You mean what happened with Rose Cooper?
Patience is key. I can't rush this one or he'll get suspicious, or I might make a mistake. Besides, if I'm going to be stuck here with him for a while, I might as well try to gather as much intel as I can. He may just be a guard, someone with no real authority, but most of the time people like him are the ones who know more than they let on.
Yeah, but even before that, we've got a couple of good blokes we never saw again. There was this one kid, too, Santillion? Sanchez?
Santos, Isabella.
Really? Those guys could have just resigned for all you know.
Dunno, I only catch tidbits of stuff from over here. Though seriously, I heard the branch is getting flushed soon, but that's no excuse for anarchy. You're the third newbie he's sent running errands this week. I can't keep letting you all in after office hours. I'll get in trouble too, you know?
Come on, just a few minutes.
There's a long pause from his end as if he's contemplating his options. A little push is all all it needs before he gives
You know
in.
how fickle the boss's moods can be.
Well, yeah, but...
Please, I really need to get those files to him tonight.
All right, go ahead. Swear you young ones have no respect for authority. Use the side entrance. I've already locked up the main door. I'm not gonna open that even if you give me puppy eyes.
Thanks, I owe you one.
Using the side door presents a different problem, however. It needs an access card, one I don't have. I could always pry it open and use a gecko, but right under the guard's watch.
There's just this one problem.
What is it again?
I forgot my access card.
I make a show of facing the security cameras, pulling my empty pockets out and presenting him the sorriest look I can muster.
Bloody hell, kids these days.
Is there any way for you to...
Boy, you're lucky I'm nice. I'll go and unlock the side entrance for you then. You can use my card, it's on the front desk. You'll need to beep in when you report for proper work on Monday, though. And don't forget to turn off the lights before you leave, Kate?
He cuts off the connection before I can thank him. Soon the latch clicks and the side door swings open. The guard, a stout man wearing a uniform still too loose for him, waves me over from the gap before he disappears behind a station again. Just my luck. Here I thought I'd have to use unconventional methods. Sure, I might be getting the guy in trouble. I kind of feel sorry for that, but it's not like he'll be keeping the job for long. If he's always letting people in like that. If BRC doesn't have long either, he'll be job hunting sooner or later anyway. He's lucky I'm not here to hurt anyone. If I were someone with ill intentions, he might not be smiling at the end of the day. Of course, as I step into the building and grab his access card, I try to push all of these concerns as far down as I can. I need to focus, work is work. Although if this is a sign of what's to come, then maybe things are indeed looking up. Nope, because I've been here before. It's a quiet ride up to the 7th floor where the BRC Lugsborn main office is. Seb, according to his access card, has been kind enough to switch the elevator's power on, just as I'm about to head for the fire exit stairs. Which is a welcome relief. I'm an active guy, but stairs, I don't want to tire out too quickly in case things get ugly. There probably won't be any trouble with the building this quiet, but you never know. I swear the whole place definitely feels eerie at this time of night. But until I've confirmed anything, those are still just stories. Worse things can happen, no need to scare myself. Staying calm means fewer mistakes.
I sure am fucking gutsy, especially with what I'm doing.
I'm breaking a lot of laws here. Best thing that can come out of this is that Isabella's right all along. Worst case scenario? I find evidence that would implicate BRC or Luke Wright in a crime, and I'm meddling. If I'm not careful enough, makes it inadmissible in court. Though I'll be honest, I strongly prefer losing my job or facing Wright over some spirit or ghost or whatever it is. Yeah. Of course. 'Cause what are you gonna do? Shoot at it? I can always work around the problems with the former, fighting off a phantom. How does one even do that? Do guns even work with them?
Yeah, not going to happen.
But tonight I'm here to fix things. If I do it without leaving a trail, all the better. Good thing that's what I'm good at. The immediate area beyond the elevator doors sees the agent stations. There's a lot more to the floor, of course, but the first order of business as soon as I'm in, locate the records room, then the security. Passing the sea of cubicles, I can't help but take in everything in their office, a force of habit for the most part. As far as I know, BRC, Lugsborn used to own this whole building. Offices and several floors once upon a time when real estate is still a lucrative business for the company in this side of the country. Then competition showed up and suddenly everything's not so good anymore. It only got worse as the years went by or so, according to the rumors. Now, the branch is just this floor despite what the huge sign in the building's facade says, and frankly, it's not too hard to believe when one looks at the state of this room right now. A number of desks have been cleared out. Personal mementos are scarce if the employees have gone on exodus. That'll be the downsizing, probably. Searching for what I need would be a whole lot easier if Isabella was here. Maybe she'll even tell me more about the sudden layoffs. She has always been...
Focus, Frey. There's no point in whining or dwelling any longer on it. That's why I'm here in the first place.
Without her, I'll just have to do this old-fashioned way. I'm a detective, aren't I?
Besides, the longer I take here, the riskier the situation becomes.
Brushing it all off, I immediately get to work. On the far wall of the main workspace, plaques label most of the doors for easy identification. The staff lounge and the branch manager's office are places I'm familiar with, and they're easily the most accessible of the private rooms. To the right of the manager's office is the meeting room and human resources. To its far left, the records, followed by security further back. Easy as pie. What will be tricky is getting inside both rooms. The security room first. The fact that no one has walked out when I entered means the room is either empty or their guards sound asleep. I'm banking more on the former. If they're cutting corners and firing agents, I've no doubt that they've fired the guy stationed here, if they have anyone watching the monitors in the first place. It's a rather common thing for establishments, just leave security recording indefinitely, and only check the footage if something actually happens. Just to check, I press my ears against the door, listening for a sign of anyone occupying the room. After a long minute and nothing, I move back towards the records room and give its knob a few rattles. Time to get to work.
Standard lock and key. Should be easy enough to pick.
We have lockpick sets, but those are only to be used if necessary, and with a search warrant. Even then, it's a skill set rarely needed. Subtlety isn't on a cost priority if they have authority to search the premises. Bolt cutters and brute force are the favored methods. If those fail, we call a locksmith. Me, I prefer the good old hairpin trick, when those options aren't available. Besides, they're easy to hide and store for emergencies. Running my hand through my hair, I pull a pair of bobby pins. 2 of these and I can just about open any standard lock. One makes a lever and the other makes a handle. I don't call it a complex skill, but it certainly takes time and a lot of practice to successfully pick a lock. Good thing I've practiced with them for a bit in my college years. I learn more when they're accessible and standard issue for a law enforcement officer. A wiggle here, a click here, and I manage to size all the pins in the locking mechanism soon enough. With a slight turn of the knob, the records room's ripe for picking.
Easier said than done. Now, where should I start looking?
The property files are probably my best bet, as well as the people who work on it, including Isabella and Rose Cooper. The sign-in forms from the open house can also help me track the clients. But it's a little too far-fetched to think those people have been affected. It would have been news now. Isabella has already found the letter by the time the open house has started. Besides, out of all the visitors, it's only the right couple who Isabella and Cooper has had a notable interaction with. One that led to the sale of the mansion. So for the next half hour, I work in complete silence, digging into every file compiled in the Ermengarde Mansion folder. The client files I leave alone like the sign forms. Better narrow this down as early as possible. My best bet are still the people who have worked closely with Cooper, Isabella, and BRC itself. After all, that's where the connection is. Not an easy task considering how thick the whole thing is. Just the correspondence and contracts for the restoration alone makes up a stack of papers that's an inch thick. Third-party service providers hired by for the masonry, radiators, woodworking, plasterwork, Slate roofing and a whole bunch of other things are well documented. Hell, every single contractor who worked on the project were listed individually, even if they were just there to do the plumbing. It's a high-profile and high-cost estate, alright. But with that scope comes the loopholes. Means plenty of room to hide something in if there's something fishy going on. All I have to do is find a pattern. And it doesn't take long. Upon closer glance, despite the original owner shouldering the renovation costs, it'll be surprising if they've managed to break even on the Ermengarde mansion. What with the additional expenses for the open house, the commission for their agents, and other overhead fees. At one point, the negotiations to get it listed under BRC's name almost broke down, too. Some disagreement about the listing price. The owners wanted to be rid of it as quickly as possible while keeping the worth at a profitable level. BRC was insisting on a higher amount, double what the appraiser suggested. This, plus the rumor that their branch is closing. BRC Lugsborn really is in the red, and the sale of the mansion could have easily been a desperate move to keep the brands afloat.
No wonder the final sale happened as fast as it did. Sheesh, this place is just unlucky. Going bankrupt while the rest of this crap is happening?
But this isn't what I'm looking for. What I need is the who, the people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business with the mansion, and the how they are now. I can't do much with the outside contractors, they won't be on file, the employee list on the other hand. Because if Isabella has to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it aside from the three of us. If they've been noticing strange things too, for all I know, there may have been just a terrible coincidence. Although the thought of that starts to diminish as I dig into BRC's company files. Turns out there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly, aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the state appraiser.
The C guy. He was in custody just the other day.
Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him acting all crazy and had to take him in when he started getting violent. Kept screaming about a woman. It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long. A few hours in, he just started bashing his own head against the wall, and well, it was messy to say the least. Guy's in the hospital right now, and I heard they're looking into putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. Within the company, he's marked AWOL. Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file notes his date of leaving and even when his final payment had been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the police's ears or the health and safety executive.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute.
I continue flipping through the documents for a while more. It's a quarter of an hour later when I put down the papers with a sigh and begin placing the folders where they belong. Aside from those 2, I found nothing else of note. I feel like I'm still missing a lot of things here. But it's about time I leave. I've taken too long. I make short work of creating duplicates out of everything I've deemed important. The pages with the names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. I'll start with the ones who live within the city. Once I finish, I tuck the duplicates under my arm and bring the originals back to their proper place. With that done, I lock the door behind me, tugging it twice just to make sure. I have my work cut out for me. It's not like I can ask for backup from the force. Now I'm on to the next order of business. Removing the evidence of my little excursion in here. Can't have my face plastered on security footage showing me breaking the law, as it were. I'm gonna have to wipe the data for Seb's access card entries too, so I won't incriminate the poor guy. Same with the records room. The security's also using a standard lock and key. Good thing my trusty bobbies are always here for me. Without much difficulty, I find myself facing the security monitors. The room's odor hits me first, a sharp nauseating stench as if someone has accidentally spilled a gallon of bleach in the room. I just want to see. I just feel so bad every time I hit skip. When was the last time they opened this place?
Ugh, this place smells awful. Jesus, it's worse than the forensics lab on a bad day.
This is probably because of a badly botched effort to clean this place up. Even in the dark, I can spy dark stains on the walls. I really don't have the time to try and play is this ketchup or soda right now, but I have this strange gut feeling who the mess might belong to. As expected, no security personnel mans the office's CCTV controls, and the standalone DVR setup is open for anyone. Normally I'd have a heap of things to say about the sloppy security setup, but right now their negligence makes the whole task of erasing evidence easier.
No fuss, no muss.
The next one should be the access card data. Hopefully getting into their computer won't be too much of a hassle. Everything up to now has been smooth sailing. There have been hiccups, I'll give it that, though it does nothing to dampen the good mood I'm in. Once I shift my attention to the machine sitting next to the DVR setup, all of it swiftly evaporates. I'm no computer buff, but I can definitely recognize one more than a decade old. Simply looking at it makes me feel younger. I have no other choice, however, unless I pull the douche card and leave Seb to whatever trouble he might get into. I don't have the heart for such a thing, after all the help the old man has unknowingly lent me tonight. With a heavy sigh, I power it up and mentally prepare myself for a slow slug. Slow, apparently, remains an understatement here. It takes a whole 3 minutes for the thing to start up. The OS hasn't even started loading, and in my boredom I start inspecting the live feeds from the cams. Only 2 work. One for the view outside, everything seems to be in order there, and the other for the main workspace where. It's a fleeting glimpse, a cursory glance, but the sight of it stops me. The image is a bit blurry, but standing there right in the middle of the room by one of the cubicles I can make out the form of a...
What the hell is...
I don't get too far into that line of thought. No few seconds after my words have slipped out without any sort of warning while I'm still trying to make sense of what it is. A moment of paralysis hits me when she stops right in front of the camera. Like a damn rookie, I go still in the face of danger. I definitely haven't been trained to handle the supernatural, and this is one, isn't it? And... oh, fuck. Her eyes bore into me, the malice in them piercing. Even beyond the screen, it's enough to make me go numb. Only the mug crashing to the floor when my hand accidentally takes a swipe at it snaps me out of the trance. Without second thought, I back away from the controls from the room, ready to be done with this place. But before my foot even moves, she disappears. Instinct instantly takes over, and my heart quickly reaches for the gun at my side, only to meet empty air. A mistake that cost me a few precious seconds while the paperwork I've brought with me threatened to scatter everywhere at the same time. Gathering everything in myself once more, with no weapon to protect myself, my sense of self-preservation kicks in next, and I lunge towards the door. I sprint across the office without daring to look back. As soon as I make out of the office, I practically throw myself into the open elevator and slam the button for the ground floor. A sigh of relief escapes from me when the elevator starts its descent. The clicking noise fades off into the distance. Shifting the stack of papers under my arm, I lean back and wait in an attempt to compose myself. Breathe. In. Out. In a matter of seconds, the elevator stops and the door opens too. There's a moment's pause, while I take in my surroundings. Confusion's understandably there, along with frustration.
Are you kidding me? They should just replace this whole thing.
I'm quite sure I pressed for the ground floor, though. But it's an old building. The elevator always did have problems when I visited in the past. Even Isabella could become so angry whenever we try to get to her floor, and she'll have to repeatedly smash the button for the elevator to even move. That was always good for a laugh. I wasn't too worried then. Now. From the distance beyond the light's reach, the noise echoes in my ears along with a rapid pounding in my heart.
There? I can hear you moving from here. Show yourself.
No response, only the soft sound of something scurrying across the floor and the walls in slow, deliberate movements, faint though still audible enough in this hush, until it stops. A moment, and then, this time, I'm certain it isn't my imagination. Against my training, my whole body stiffens, hands stilling mid-press on the button, eyes growing wide while waiting for any sort of movement from further back, and ears strained for the source of the sound. Much as I hated to admit it, dread has seeped into every nerve in my body, and the blasted elevator still won't work.
This isn't in my fucking training manual.
Another series of shuffling against the ground, a laughter, and all of a sudden she's just there. Like a twisted spider, she stares at me, a look of hunger in her eyes and venom in the twisted manner she smiles. A glee she has well earned, when I'm a damn fly that has been dropped right onto the spider's web.
Damn it!
Without warning, she moves, mocking me with each unhurried crawl she takes, knowing I'm at her mercy.
Fucking hell, work, you stupid!
My life is in the hands of a crummy elevator, literally hanging between life and death. I'm not going to die here. Not in a damn elevator. As if a divine power has heard me swearing up a storm in my head, the doors close just as that thing looms near. Soon the elevator, the blasted thing, is headed up. And this is the most I've been tired my whole damn life. Not during training when my superior first asked me to drop 100. Not after a stakeout. But after smashing a fucking elevator button repeatedly. I slump to the ground worn out, but I don't let myself feel relief again, not until I'm out of here. Still, I find myself letting out a shaky laugh.
Fuck, I should have taken the goddamn stairs.
Twice, I've seen it. Thrice, if I include the party, unless I'm tripping balls without realizing it. There's no doubt in my mind that this is actually happening. I don't want to believe it. But with the truth staring at me in the face, it'll be stupidity to deny the reality of the matter. As soon as the lift hits the ground, I hightail out of the building. Seb's sound asleep when I pass by his station. However, in the face of what I've seen, everything I've faced tonight, I really can't care less who will still see me on my way out. The sooner I get away from this place, the further, the better. I'm not sure if that also means being safe. She also got me, damn it. She almost got me, damn it. The fucking thing almost got me. Shit, it was only by luck that I managed to get the fucking elevator unstuck. Had the blasted thing not worked in the last second. I need some fresh air. Fresh, breathable air that doesn't stink like death and gore all at once. I'm panicking. Christ, losing focus. I can't afford that right now. I can't lose it when Zach and Rebecca might be in trouble as well.
Remember your training, Frey.
Another deep breath, and soon I'm starting the engines driving off. After that little incident, somewhere open would be good. Someplace I won't get trapped. Lugsbourne Park brings a welcome relief, though only by some. The chill that has seeped in my bones is still there, and furling and unfurling underneath my skin. If I don't move, if I don't busy myself with anything, soon my brain will go haywire. It's the last thing I want to happen when there are plenty of things to do. But this already answers all of it, doesn't it? Those deaths. Just how many copies of the letter are out there? Isabella can't have the only one if other people are also getting cursed. Could it be that the one she has shown us is just one of 5, maybe even more? That whole pass this to 5 people business is ridiculous, but at this point, is it still? All in all, I found 2 deceased people who might have read the letter, 4 if we count Cooper as well as Isabella. And that's only with what I can find right now. I have no idea how the contractors and specialists hired from outside the company are doing, if they are in any way affected. How many more people are suffering? How many are missing? How many are dead? Can I still even believe the rights for this? If anything, they might be in danger as well. Oops, I said believe, I meant blame. I don't think I can wish a curse upon anyone, no matter how big of a douchebag Luke Wright is. There's also that woman. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get away from her? Shit. Still so many things we need to look into, yet all my body wants to do is pace, burn out whatever excess energy there is in me.
I'm not going crazy, am I? I saw that. I'm pretty sure I saw that. I didn't inhale anything weird. Just shit. Shit.
Of course, the panic passes soon, replaced by another tense silence as everything sinks in. The awareness of the much bigger trouble looming over me, us. We're in deep shit and it's finally caught up and hit me like a ton of bricks. Because Isabella has warned us of this since day one, and I'm the first person who brushed it off. Suddenly exhausted, I slump down on a bench and bury my face in my hands, as every regret bears down on me. And in the stillness of the park, a plea slips out.
Isabella, what am I supposed to do? Tell me, please.
A desperation after all my failures, after all the things I've disregarded. All at cost to the people I care about. Darkness blurs the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off ever so slowly. A chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There's only fear. Once again her laughter echoes, the sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Morning breaks in a blurry mess of vivid shapes and colors. Oddly, there's no feeling of terror or confusion gripping me despite the vague images that have driven me from sleep. Awareness kicks in shortly, though slow and sluggish, as I blink away the last remnants of unconsciousness from my eyes. The early morning light already streams from the open windows when the memory sets in and the room I'm in finally comes into focus. Not a room. My car. I've bunkered down here last night after my nerves have calmed. When you almost get trapped in a confined space, there's no question about staying somewhere open. Not again. She might appear any time. She won't catch me off guard again, that woman. Is she still one in the first place, one that we'd normally call a human? Can it still feel guilt? Does it understand pain? Fuck. I take breaking and entering charges over whatever she was any day. Punishing myself upright, my eyes... Punishing myself. Oh my god. Maybe I need to take a break. Pushing myself upright, my eyes wander idly towards a mess of papers I've gathered from BRC last night, a proof that none of it is a dream, no matter how much I wish for it. Then it shifts to the view outside, right to the line of trees winding pathways. There are some already strolling about the place, a few people here and there, dotting the space my eyes can reach, but otherwise the whole park is empty. Quiet. For some reason I can't stand the silence right now, not when that woman's face has been burned in my eyelids. Whenever I close my eyes, I see her. It's a miracle I'm still able to get a few hours of sleep, even with that horrid laughter of hers still ringing in my ears. But then maybe it's simply an exhaustion at work. You'd think I'm used to going 48 hours, maybe even more without rest, and I am. But what happened at BRC has shaken me up like nothing else has. Thugs and criminals, hell, even crime lords I can deal with, but ghouls and the undead?
Oh, I didn't sign up for that.
Seriously, this better not be the start of some sort of zombie apocalypse. Actually, maybe a zombie thing would be more preferable. I'd at least know what I need to do. Shoot dead stuff until they're dead for good and leave figuring out how everything went to hell to the scientists.
Thinking about it won't change anything, though. She's just toying with our lives.
She's dangerous. If we don't do anything about her, and this curse will definitely be pushing Daisy soon. Can't let that happen to Isabella. Happen to the others as well. I've dallied on this long enough, left all my friends in harm's way after the warnings they'd given me. I do admit I'm afraid. But beneath the terror, adrenaline keeps me running, compels me to take action. To do something, I still have two other people I need to check with. Isabella would definitely get in a tizzy if I didn't check on them. God, I should have listened to Isabella. Maybe I don't need to outright believe her, but I should have listened. Then maybe she wouldn't be. There's no point dwelling on what ifs and what shoulds. I can't do anything about the past. What I should be caring about is what happened. That I can do something about. With one last sigh, I start my car and slowly pull off the parking lot. Zach has already been warned yesterday. I trust him not to do something stupid. Rebecca, on the other hand, we ended on a bad note last time. Might as well mend things with
Zeman has mentioned dreaming about a woman. Whether it's the same one we've been seeing, I've yet to ask. Bottom line, he likely knows as much about this as I do. Isabella's accident might as well have been that ghost's doing. Both Rebecca and Zach have seen it too. She'll go after them as well. Yet here I am walking up to Becca's door, one slow step at a time, a stalling tactic to allow myself some time to put the mess in my head in a better order. How to phrase this, when there's a 90% chance she's still pissed about a whole different matter. It's the only reason I didn't check on her last night. I'll only alarm her by showing up in her home in the middle of the night, acting like a babbling lunatic. And her anger can last quite a while. These past years, it seems the only way she has been able to easily forgive is Isabella. I kind of wish she's here to help me talk to her. I run my hand through my hair and straighten out my jacket before knocking. Once, twice, and 3 times just to be sure Becca has heard me even if she's asleep. She's usually awake by now, though.
Hey, Becca, it's Ash. Open up. Don't tell me you're still in bed.
Seconds tick by. No answer from her, and dread has started to creep up. I've been trained to handle dire situations, but the feeling has been doing that quite frequently since last night. My mind begins to anticipate the worst, and in the next minute, concern has mixed in with my thoughts, and I bang my fist on the door louder this time. She'll definitely be livid, but I'd rather face her wrath than a dead body.
Becca, it's Ash. There's something we need to talk about right away. Open up. I know you're...
Your girlfriend left early this morning, pretty boy. So if you could do us a bloody favor and shut up, that'd be real fucking polite.
My hand pauses short of landing another heavy knock. From the other unit, Rebecca's other neighbor peeks out through his door, though I see nothing but a bundle of blankets. I'll say they need help from being devoured by their sheets, but it sounds like he's just fine. He's a huge asshole, too. Course of action, so people like him won't ruin your day, act like the nicest person on the planet. Has done me wonders when I was a rookie patrolling the streets. No need to match his temper.
Oh, did she say where she was going?
I don't know. She said something about meeting someone or something. Well, what am I, her keeper? You know, some people want to sleep in on a bloody Sunday, so keep it down. Just looking forward to this weekend. Thanks, you damn git.
Well, there's no need to be an ass about it. I'll get out of your...
He slams his door without warning, but not before muttering a string of very colorful words about me. Probably thinks I won't hear him inside the four walls of his apartment.
Jerk.
And at the end of it, a sigh. So, Rebecca's not here. Must have missed her by an hour or so, but at least she's not alone. She should be safe, in theory. More so if the person she's meeting with is who I'm thinking. Nevertheless, I still can't help but worry. It's an easy thing, continuing down increasingly darker lines of thought. To act brashly, to find out where she is and go straight there without deliberating on my actions first. There's Zach to boot. Rebecca's not alone, but I can't say the same for the big guy. A simple phone call to the both of them should do the trick. It will ease my nerves at any rate. It's better than rushing over to Zach's place or assuming Rebecca's whereabouts and finding out they're not where I've guessed they should be. Assuming the worst will come next, which I'd rather avoid this early. Any other reason I won't bother them, but an emergency begs for urgency. This is one, right? Even if it isn't, anxiety from concern dulls judgment. Something I most certainly can't afford to lose at any given time, especially right now. Any means to calm it will do wonders for the muddled mess my mind is already in. Pulling up my phone, I thumb through the screen until it ends up on a group with only Zach, Rebecca's, and Isabella's numbers listed. Other people will probably say I keep too few friends when they chance on this. To some extent, it's true. I can easily name about 100 people I've been acquainted with through the years. Colleagues, blockmates from uni, neighbors, those sort of people. They all come and go. But these three have chosen to stay for some reason without wanting or asking for anything. Unlike the others, none has Zach's kindness, Rebecca's patience, or the sincerity in Isabella's eyes. One day these guys are just there, the next thing I know, being with them eases it. That heavy, somber feeling lingering in the air when you stand alone in your apartment, or something as simple as spending your day off without anyone. I'll say it's loneliness, but this carries much more depth than that. If I can help it, I don't want to lose the rest of them to some stupid curse. I've already come too close to losing one. A phone call may be the last comforting thing at the moment. Honestly, I prefer being in the same room with them right now, but I'll take what I can get. Becca first. She'll get angry at me for worrying about her. She isn't some helpless damsel in distress after all. She isn't the shy little girl I knew when we were children. We're already far from the people we were back then, but that's more than enough reason to check in on her. I don't have to imagine her taking anything head on. She'll do it instead of asking for help when she needs it. I don't care if she gets mad at me, if only to know that she's fine. A ring. In the silence of the hallway, its sound alone might as well be sharp enough to pierce through my ears. Another second passes. 2, 3. But when on the 9th ring it goes straight to her voicemail, a cold feeling instantly lodges in my stomach.
Rebecca
Probably just busy, that's all. Though I still barely manage to keep my voice even when I speak.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
Becca will be alright. Is alright. She's safe. She's with someone else. In the event that woman shows up, she'll have someone with her. Someone she'll be able to ask for help. She's safe. She can handle herself. Becca might have a fiery temper, but she knows when she's faced with something she can't handle herself. Rebecca will see my missed call and she'll call me back. Though I don't express it enough, Rebecca is someone I consider important to me. She's been my friend for the longest. Anybody else would have been fed up with me and left. The girls stuck by me no matter how big of a jerk I've been. There's Zach and Isabella now too, of course. I'll always be thankful for them. Having them around. I feel like at this point, with the letter, I really just cannot read. My reading skills just go. The worst times before, however, Becca was there. No one believes it when I say, but I've certainly had my awful moments as a bratty kid and as a horrible teen. Issues, I've had too many of them to count and refused to deal with them for a time. At least that's what Andrew likes to tell me. I tend to think nothing of it. It has mellowed down over the years, thanks to the professor mostly. But at times I do wonder if it still burdens me the way it did all those years ago. After all, I was terrible, especially around the time of my parents' separation. Looking back at it now, I had no reason to direct all my frustration towards everyone else. While I wasn't a kid who lashed out at anyone, preferring to keep it to myself and turning those negative feelings into more productive things. I've grown distant from a lot of people because of it, from my old friends back in my old school, and the neighbors I've hung out with before moving. A habit I've likely brought with me into adulthood. I was just so angry with everyone and everything. All I kept thinking about was myself, wondering why me. In retrospect, I was selfish. I was a selfish little bastard who thought the world revolved around me. That I shouldn't have been going through it. I believe my behavior was entitled, that I had the right. Tough times, but she stuck with me, snapped me out of my little sulk, as she often phrases it, whenever she sees the chance to bring it up. Didn't tolerate my bullshit, but she didn't leave me alone either. If anything, the whole thing made her stick around. Her concern may have grown a bit too overbearing as the years went by, but she's still an old friend nevertheless. I owe her a lot. That won't change.
Damn it. Where are you, Becca?
Another message left on her voicemail, then my third call. I hang up. For the time being, I can't do anything more than to wait for her to return my calls. Worrying aimlessly won't get me anywhere. Zach, on the other hand. That guy attracts trouble no matter how much he tries to avoid it. Doesn't help how he hasn't been too hot lately with a lot of people. His mention of plans yesterday doesn't sit too well with me either. He might be the next responsible adult after Rebecca out of the four of us, but I've still got to check on the big guy. Make sure he's doing okay, at the very least, whatever he has planned on doing. All I'm asking is for it not to be idiotic. He's a sensible guy, I'm sure. However, desperation clings and pushes people to do things, rational or irrational, it doesn't matter. Clear thinking flies out the window the moment you're in danger, and I sincerely hope he has not found himself in a tricky situation. His phone doesn't even ring before he answers, or his voicemail at least.
Hey, it's Zach. Well, a voicemail anyway. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, just leave a message, yeah? And no, Ash, you're not allowed to lockpick your way into my apartment again. Just do what any other decent human being does and call if I'm not around. Thanks.
Did he turn it off? Why? I don't want to assume the worst yet. Maybe he has forgotten to charge it? Can't be. That guy can be a bit of a Boy Scout even more than I am as a cop. He's the type who has an extra battery or power bank in his bag if he ever needs it, and he always does. He won't say anything or brag about it, but he's quite he's got quite a roster of VIP freelance clients. He won't just leave his phone dead in case he's on the field, particularly when people will likely be looking for him. He always leaves his connection open whenever clients or his friends need him. Zach is reliable like that.
Why isn't anyone answering?
His mobile in an out-of-range area sounds more plausible, although the thought of it doesn't completely shake off the unease. Unlike Rebecca and I, he took the time to listen to what Isabella had been saying. And even if he doesn't believe it, he was definitely the first one to offer help or to try to do something. If he ends up in trouble doing whatever it is, so help me, I'm going to. Well, I can't be rash. I'm aware of that, been running the same reminder in my head since last night. But if something happens, I'm certain my reaction won't be pretty.
Yo, Zach, call me back, alright? I wanted to check in and, yeah, just please call me back.
It's usually a joke between us when I say he's the Watson to my Sherlock. I don't see him as some assistant to put aside until he's needed, like some people like to believe, though. He's not some pity friend I keep around to make myself look good.
If anything, he's the one who stayed by me out of pity.
Zach's the only one who puts up with me most of the time, even when he doesn't need to. It's not a case of cool cop who helped out a minority. In truth, I was a hard-headed, hot-tempered, and reckless rookie up until I met him. It wasn't anything sudden, and some part of me is still that rookie. But I've grown thanks to him. He tempers that part of me, considering how our first impressions went. I'm lucky he stuck around. Beck and I may have spent a lot of years together as children, but Zach, he's probably the closest thing I'll ever call to a best friend. Though it's more than that, a camaraderie no words can express. He has my back and I'll always have his. He's a brother I've never had the luck of ever having, only child and all.
And I have every reason to worry about my brother.
Becca's neighbor did say she went out to meet with someone, no specific names. If I'm wrong and she's not with Professor Clark, then maybe it's with Zach. They've never been close, but it's not the kind of awkward friendship where meeting together remains out of the question. Regardless, I continue dialing for his phone another 3 times like I've done with Becca's. In the end, after the 3rd attempt with no one answering, I stop and move to cut the call with a ragged exhale.
Waiting game it is, then.
I've been trained for those. Hell, I'm used to them, just not when it comes to people I'm close to. Much as I keep reminding myself to maintain a level head, it's a whole different matter when it's someone you know. It's only an accident, but what happened to Isabella has proven that. Personal feelings will likely get involved at some point, starting now, actually. With the anxious strings coiling and uncoiling, causing a racket inside my stomach. And that's exactly when the line finally connects. Before he even speaks, my question has already slipped out, including every pent-up worry and tension in my body.
Where are you?
The line's choppy, though I can still make out the words he's saying. Nothing to worry about then. He's just someplace where network coverage is shitty. Can't imagine where at this time of morning, though. Did he go out for a jog?
Was that Ash? Could you repeat that? Signal shitty here.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
I've meant that to sound as friendly as possible to keep things light, at least. Instead, only the frustration shows in my tone.
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you. I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
Do I really need to answer that?
Why are you even...
Please don't tell me that's his plan, a morning visit to the mansion where Luke Wright is. Of all the pig-headed things to do right now, it's the best thing he can come up with, breaking and entering. I've got plenty of reasons to rail at him right now, though no matter how much I want to give him a piece of my mind, unfortunately it's not the time.
No, wait. Just get your ass to Isabella's place, and hurry.
He pauses a moment, a second of indecision while he seems to contemplate his options.
How urgent is this?
In truth, the question, the hesitance, and the indecision in his voice has caught me completely off guard. An understanding dawns on me. His decision to go there isn't one born out of a stupid impulse. He must have found something. However, no matter how urgent it is, he still shouldn't have gone there, alone at that. Despite myself in that split second of comprehension, I allow it to show. A weakness. A simple request, brimming with every unease and disquiet causing turmoil within me since last night.
It bears a selfish hope that he'll understand, even though the unstable signal that whatever's keeping him there, he'll be willing to set it aside for now.
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
Silence fills the other end of the line again. For a long moment, I assume he won't heed it, and I'll have to drive there myself just to drag him away from whatever danger he's skirting. Thankfully, he agrees.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
Relief washes over me as soon as the call ends. Normally, I don't let myself a moment of respite in times like this. Gotta stay alert. Rebecca's still out there, has yet to return any of my messages. But for the moment, I relish in it. This is probably the first time I've permitted myself to do so since last night. Even the muscles in my shoulders have been complaining from all the tension I've taken on. Still annoys me that all I can do right now is grit my teeth and trudge back to Isabella's apartment. Useless. That's what I am in the face of this. A mad dash around Luxborn and Anselm isn't going to help things. It's not like I'll simply stumble across them on the side of the road during a drive. The city's a too big place for one person to go searching for only two people.
That'd be like finding a needle in a haystack.
With one last frustrated glance toward the open skies, I prepare myself for the long wait. I might have already grown used to this, but the waiting will always be the hardest part. More so when it's the people you care about, and sure enough, boredom strikes minutes later, followed closely by anxiety. I need to be doing something, but what? I've already gone through these papers from BRC last night, twice, in fact, and I'm still at a dead end. If Rebecca were here, hell, if only Isabella's here. Unconsciously, my attention drifts toward the closed door of her apartment, and it hits me the second my eyes land on it. A split second of idea. I didn't bother looking into this because all this time I've assumed it's an accident. But Cooper died. Isabella would have most likely received all the files for the Ermengarde mansion. In fact, she might not need to. They were partners, right? It's no longer a trainee-mentor thing. They both likely have the same copies of the documents. She might still be keeping some in her room. Something she hasn't been able to give us because of the accident. However, immediately after that thought forms, guilt also rears its head. The fact that I'm thinking about breaking into her apartment leaves an uneasy twinge in my stomach. It's wrong. All of it is wrong, inappropriate on so many levels of propriety I adhere to. If she's here, I won't even consider it. Really now. But if she was here, would she allow it? My gaze swivels back to the door. It's as if the thing's inviting me. One thing's for sure, however. Knowing her, she'll do any possible means if it'll save her friends from this curse. She can be stubborn like that sometimes, and it's enough to harden my resolve. So, muttering in a silent apology turn, swallowing my guilt, I reach up for my bobby pins and begin my work on the lock. In under a minute, the knob clicks, and I quietly slip into her apartment. Whatever I am to find at the end of this, I hope it'll point me in the right direction. Despite her aunt having brought most of her personal stuff to the hospital, her room's still a mess of things she has accumulated over the years. Papers, instant noodle cups, photographs, and posters all over the room. No matter where you look at this, the place simply has Isabella written in it. Just 5 years and she's left this big mark in our lives. I'd be lying if I said her presence didn't change a lot of things. In Zach, in Rebecca, in me. However, there's no time to reminisce about all this. As nice and nostalgic those memories are, there's work to do, things to find. There's even any in here. I won't know that by simply standing here, acting nostalgic. Wasting no time, I head straight for her study table, where a case of papers and folders cluttered the top. There are instant noodle cups still, plus a few empty pens and crumpled paper littering the table. All points of interest in the room, but my focus veers on the laptop first. No malice intended, I'm simply looking for work files. Besides, I doubt she has anything to hide, and if it still means anything, that's exactly why Isabella has always worn her heart on her sleeve. Genuine, uninhibited, open, free. While it has often gotten her into all sorts of trouble, her candidness, that wholehearted look she has always displayed and carried with her, are things I will never have a reason to doubt. Others will say it's her warmth that draws people to her, or her cheer. Neither are wrong, but neither is the whole truth to her either. But those who have never bothered to look beyond the surface will never see her. See someone earnest, someone who has always meant well, albeit her underlying stubbornness. See how she loves. An affection that is altogether both warm, steadfast, and unflinching, in many ways. For a lot of reasons. She's the kind of person I want to be around with, who made me feel I am still worth something. You never meet many people like that, not in my line of work, always with something to hide, always with something to lie about. Eventually, when you meet too many of them, you change too, you become like them. Perhaps the biggest thing I regret about this is I never had the chance to change that before she... The laptop finally boots up and loads the operating system, although as soon as it does, I'm greeted by her password screen. For a few minutes, I try my hand at a couple of obvious ones she might use. None of it works.
At least she knows how to use the most common ones.
This adds a new layer of problem, though. Knowing her, she must have written it somewhere. Not in the mess of papers here, but someplace she can quickly check. It's probably something she'll bring with her, not necessarily a diary, but close to one. I've noticed one on her person several times before. Never saw its contents, but I've seen her write regularly in them, while waiting for a meal in a restaurant or during lulls in a conversation. I just hope she's left it where she's written her password somewhere here. Oh, left? Okay. I didn't need to add anything. It's a drawer I start with from bottom one. It takes a while going through the pile in each of the 3 layers, the bottom 2 yielding nothing but old records she's been keeping. The third one, though, yields one closer to what I'm looking for. All of the pages have already been filled.
Probably why she dumped it here.
Carefully flipping through each reveals notes from a meeting with a client. Sometimes there are doodles at the edge of the pages, others taking up an entire spread. All old ones and nothing of use to me right now, but on the last page on a sheet folded in half. Opening it reveals a doodle of the 3 of us, Zach, Rebecca, and me, from how we looked about 4 or 5 years ago, give or take. Why is there a bandage in there? At the bottom, the words scrawled in a neat script after a few telling erasures. 707 Devlin, 2011. Despite myself and how dismal everything going on at present, a laughter slips from my lips, uninhibited and without care for whom I hear. 707 Devlin Court. I remember handling that case from 5 years ago. Even got a recommendation from Inspector Abigail and a promotion to Detective Sergeant after wrapping it up. Some morbid case of a dead husband being stuffed in a sofa by his own wife, and at the heart of it, Isabella. Fresh off the boat selling the first property assigned to her. Some sick sense of humor the universe must have, huh? Though in hindsight, if all that shit didn't happen, the 4 of us won't even be together. I wouldn't have met her. Yet in the end, I can't even tell her. Instead, choosing to hide behind teasing words and friendly jibs, because I'm a coward who can't even convey his feelings properly. Who can't even face the person he's become. Granted, it's not yet too late for her. She might still recover, but now there's only regret.
Badge, a gun, and I can't even protect my own friends.
To other people, these may just be series of letters, but to us, to the people pictured on this page, they mean a whole different thing. Apparently, it also means a great deal to her, one sentiment that goes far beyond some sense of nostalgia. Enough to also use it as the password for her own laptop. Sure enough, it works, and soon I have access on all of her work files. Nothing significant, though. Nothing I haven't already found last night. Perhaps the most noteworthy out of everything is a log she's left that night. She has taken note of every client who attended the open house and worked on the mansion, even the outside contractors. Although for what purpose I have no idea. Should have also looked into those last night. They didn't seem that important, though. If anything, I'll get the I'll get the most looking into the deaths of those employees and some random people. Adding these clients to my list will only broaden my scope. But what if Isabella's onto something here, like with the letter? Shit. There's no more room for regret, however. All of a sudden a knock breaks the moment, and just as fast, my attention shifts towards the source. Before I can even wallow in my mistakes, I hastily put everything back together, turn off Isabella's laptop, and open the door. Hopefully I'll be greeted by some good news this time. Unrelated frustrations aside, once I step out of the room and accept the call, the stone that has been stuck in my stomach simultaneously lodges itself up my throat. There in the hallway stands Zach, his hand raised ready for another knock. Though he's not at his most presentable at the moment, ruffled and drenched with sweat as he is, relief quickly washes over me like a tide. He's still panting when he pushes me aside and heads in.
You said it was urgent. Did anything happen? Is it Becca?
Everyone's fine. Well, Becca's not here. She went somewhere this morning and hasn't answered any of my calls yet.
So, nothing's wrong? Why'd you call me here for then? And what are you even doing here? You know Bella wouldn't be happy you're snooping around here. It's still hers.
My explanation can wait. He has a lot of explaining to do. The fact that he went to Anselm alone for some godforsaken reason warrants a proper one. Ghost or not, he's already been given a warning. It frustrates me to no end. This might be the plan he mentioned the last time we spoke. I get that he's worried about Hana, right? Somehow they've become friends, but that's not the issue here. Not when there's a murderous ghost who might go after one of us at any given time. Sure, Zach made it here in one piece, but by some dumb luck, he's alright, and this takes one off the list of people I need to worry about. Frankly, as annoyed as I am, I can't just stay angry at him when I look at the situation that way. Hell, if that call didn't connect in that exact minute, there might have been a chance he won't be standing here. This is a blessing in itself. You promised you wouldn't do anything stupid. Oh, thank God you're okay. Except when I open my mouth, the only thing that spills out from it is my own relief. Despite myself, despite the rational part of my brain screaming everything wrong about Zach's neat little plan. We've had so many close calls within just a single night. Zach showing up in Isabella's doorstep alive, whole, and unharmed. I might as well take comfort in that while I still can.
You're okay.
You did tell me not to do anything stupid.
Suddenly the whole room feels too heavy, and all I'm able to do is drop down on the couch. The headaches also threaten to burst in the same moment, or perhaps this is what release from anxiety feels like. Regardless, I reach up a hand to pinch the bridge of my nose, even if it'll likely do nothing to alleviate the impending pain.
Christ, you were right there! We have this stupid curse thing going on, and you were right there! You just walked up inside a private property! Those people can easily sue you for breaking and entering, and that's the least of it.
I know, Ash. But I can't just leave things as they are. I've got to do something.
God damn it, Zach, I was worried!
Unexpectedly, he laughs, not the half-hearted sort he makes when he's awkward or coming up with an excuse. A genuine one. Before my annoyance grows again and I snap at him, though, he suddenly catches me in a headlock. His arms looping around my neck while he grinds his knuckles against my skull. Helpless, I squirm under his grip in protest. Even then, it's hard to do so when you're up against a 6-footer.
Zach!
Aw, he's worried. Why didn't you say so? That cool act ain't gonna fool me anymore.
Let go!
He relents soon enough, though only after he's done ample damage in my hair. I hate it when he does that. For a few moments there, the tense mood finally lightened up, and everything felt like how it used to be before this whole mess began. Makes appreciating little moments like this easier. Still.
Seriously, Zach. Why are you even there?
Told you already. I was looking for you.
Why would I even go there?
Well, you mentioned the plan. I assume that's where you went since that's where Isabella found the letter.
Sorry. I was really at a dead end.
The logic in it stuns me into silence, to say the least. Then I remember his hesitance, the tone he has taken before agreeing to go here, and all at once my anger from what he's done wanes. Partly this is my fault for keeping things vague. I can't berate him for assuming that when I've only left him with vague answers.
You could have called me.
I did.
I didn't receive any, and my phone was with me.
You're kidding, right? I was at it the whole night.
The whole atmosphere in the room changes into heartbeats. Back again to the tension-riddled one plaguing us. Zachary stares at me like I've grown another head. The expression in his eyes, questioning, asking for a confirmation, like my word can't be trusted. Not that I'm holding it against him. I can't even believe the things coming out of my mouth these past few hours.
Please tell me you're joking.
You can check my phone logs if you want. I really didn't get any. But do it later. It's more important that you hear what happened at BRC last night. Zach, just as I was about to leave, I saw...
I never get to finish that. Abruptly, my phone rings again, blaring its badly sang ringtone throughout the whole room. Zach pauses, waiting when I pull it up to check the caller ID.
It's Becca. I'll tell her to get here as soon as she can. Excuse me.
Without another word, I slip out of the room and answer the call. I don't know why you gotta go outside. Zach's the only one that's in there. You could take the call. However, the tone she assumes isn't what I'm hoping to hear.
Are you there?
Ragged, a bit out of breath, there's a tinge of urgency in it. Listening to her from my side of the line makes it seem like she has just run a marathon prior to this call.
Becca, where?
I got your message. What happened?
Nothing. Yet? Where are you?
Downtown. I had to make a quick visit to the library.
Listen, Ash, that thing Isabella told us about. There's something you guys need to...
Please tell me you didn't... Whatever. Save it for later. I'm at Salemwell. If you can get here as soon as possible, that'd be really great. This is... related to that.
You're there?
Yeah, Zach too.
With a quick press of the button, I switch on the loudspeakers and step back into Isabella's apartment. I hold out the phone towards him, giving it 2 shakes, urging him to speak. He's still carrying a worried look on his face. I should ease that.
Rebecca's asking for you.
Hello, Rebecca. Odd morning we having, eh?
Hey, Zachary. What's happening over there? Is this something I should be worried about?
We'll tell you once you get here. Please, hurry.
I don't like the sound of that, Ash. But I'm on my way. Give me a few minutes. I'm driving.
She mumbles a goodbye, then hangs up. Becca's the last person I need to account for, yet that call left an even more strained tension in the room. Thankfully, we don't have to linger in it for too long. She only takes a matter of minutes to get here, and the second she steps into the room, apologies slip out of her mouth first.
I'm sorry, Ash. Were you two waiting long?
It doesn't matter. What's important is you're here.
Not burnt to a crisp or brutally murdered somewhere. Whole, alive. Though she seems a bit shaken, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. At least now I can relax, ease the pressure off my shoulders, if only by some. But the minute she closes the door, she winces. A small reaction. Zach doesn't even catch it. It sets a precedence for a careful observation, nevertheless. A closer look at her reveals a much more disheveled than usual. Hair in a bit of a mess, probably flattened in a hurry. The back of her dress also shows stains of dirt in places it rarely gets into. She's also leaning more on using her left arm. She's right-handed. Perhaps the most telling is the slight limp she has once she leads herself into the room. It all sprouts a hat full of questions. What exactly happened and how she ended up in that state? Pretty sure a simple trip to the library won't do that. I grab her arm before she can walk past, carefully to avoid hurting her, in case there really is an injury. Seems like it at first, but you can't be sure until after a careful examination has been made. I suspect some bruising at least. Although minor internal fractures aren't out of the question, they have a nasty way of staying hidden. Sure enough, Becca tenses immediately upon contact. Tries to pull back, although the sudden gesture only elicits another wince, forcing her to halt. She turns to me, her eyes searching mine for answers, and doesn't appear quite pleased with the interruption, or the fact someone had brought it to light. But that someone also has to make sure. Are you alright?
You okay? You're limping.
As expected, she tries to hide it. This time when she squirms from my grasp, it's with enough force she almost stumbles back if Zach hadn't caught her by her elbow. Even with another person shooting her concerned looks, she's swift to shrug it off.
It's fine. I just had a little accident.
little accident. Hard to believe when her other arm's nursing the supposedly fine arm. Zack doesn't appear to buy any of it either.
Really? In a library? Don't they have some sort of safety protocols there, like reminders and those kinds of stuff?
Well, yeah. It kinda caught me off guard.
Something's happened there, hasn't it?
I don't have to elaborate on the question further. Shortly she goes very still and the hand placed over her right arm shifts over so slightly, its grip on the limb tightening. Not too firm to hurt, but just enough for a gesture of comfort for herself. Warily she casts a glance at everyone in the room. It strikes me seconds later how utterly familiar her expression is, the same one I've seen far too many times in Isabella. Since that day at the movie house, every time her attempts to warn us have been so rudely dismissed. Rebecca hesitates for a moment, and after a minute of consideration she sighs and reaches for the hem of her sleeve, raises it just enough for us to take a good look at it. Not swollen, but a large portion of her skin starting to turn an ugly shade of purple.
Oh, that is gonna be one hell of a nasty bruise.
Tell me about it. It was a library cart that hit me. You know, the old metal ones they keep near the history section.
Ouch! Like I said, nasty.
Is it the woman you mentioned? The one you said was sitting in the back of your car?
Yeah, I was in the archives, looking something up. Suddenly, she was just there. Ash, she was using my own students against me. What kind of terrible person does that? Oh, it makes my blood boil.
You should have just ran. That woman's not something you can hit with a book.
Laugh it up, Ashton. I did. Then the bloody cart came out of nowhere. And you know what? If it weren't for a damn book, I would be dead by now.
Silence descends in the room as the gravity of that one word hits all of us. Dead. How many more close calls do we have to go through? How many deaths do we have to witness? How long can we keep this up? We're bound to break at one point. No normal human being with a sane mind can last like this, losing people important to them one by one right in front of them. I've already come close to losing Isabella. I'm not losing Zack and Rebecca too.
Let's leave these issues for now. There are some things, a lot of things, you guys need to know.
Well, if this is gonna be long, you better get a quick remedy for that arm. Let me fetch you one.
That marks the end of it, at least for the time being. And as soon as Zack returns and hands Rebecca the remedy he promised, we get straight down to business. Surprisingly easy considering the rigid air in the room. Although there's some tense fumbling for words at first, the whole conversation gains steam once what happened last night at BRC has been put on the table. All at once, everything we've brushed off, carelessly ignored, and rudely dismissed have been laid out for close scrutiny. Zack's encounters with the woman in his dreams, Rebecca's close brushes with death every time she appears, the dread, the fear, the terror she brings out even in the bravest of us, everything. Because no matter how bleak this all seems, there must still be a way out of this. There has to be, logic be damned. Or at least that's what I would like to believe. Yet even as the cold morning light shifts to the warm hues of late afternoon, and eventually night, none of this still makes a fucking damn sense. Darkness has fallen, but we're still nowhere near figuring things out. If anything, we're more at a loss than we've ever been before we even started this. The next thing I know, frustration rears its ugly head and the sheets of paper I've been holding smacks the table harder than I've intended. The sound of it echoes loudly in the small room, and everyone simply falls silent. Along with it is a release of another long-held breath. Perhaps the 100th since this morning.
We aren't getting anywhere at this rate.
Chill, Ash. You're the one who picked out these files. What are we supposed to be looking for here?
A pattern, something that might hint a way out of this. The guys from BRC have probably also read that dumb paper.
Not so dumb if it can kill all of us.
Very funny, Z-Man. Anyway, like I said, these guys from BRC have probably also read that dumb paper. They've been working on the mansion before the open house, but Isabella found it during.
Maybe there's more than one of it. Even my friend, the priest from the cathedral. He's been acting strangely. I visited him a few days ago, and he was hysterical. They think he's sick, but I have a feeling what the real case might be. There might be more than one of that paper going around that we don't know about. More to this. I mean, look at all this stuff Rebecca brought with her. Apparently our teachers have been lying to us all these years. So who knows?
Hey, now don't blame us. Blame the bloody books they wrote.
Sighing, I reach for one of the papers Rebecca has brought with her and carefully inspect the words printed on the page. A copy of an old newsprint from even before the city has been founded. Just a typical newsprint, but my eyes do linger at the illustration of the noblewoman's servant.
Any ideas why they're keeping this in the restricted section?
Rebecca merely shrugs at my inquiry, but her own annoyance seeps through her answer.
How should I know? I wasn't even aware we have archives that go as far back as this. This is before the city was even founded. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Andrew's help, I wouldn't have gotten my hands on any of it. Maybe they didn't think it would be important to talk about it. After all, this is more Anselm's than ours.
That or some old bugger's hiding something.
Why else would these tell a completely different story? Revising what's written seems an endless endeavor on its own when you have nothing to gain from it. Thanks to those, we're also missing a lot of things here. Somehow, even with all this information in hand, it still feels like there's something we're overlooking. All we have to go with is the mansion, the letter, and all the stuff selfish people have been keeping from the public, but what else? Where this all started? The Ermengarde mansion? Will bringing the letter back there fix everything? Fuck. How do I? The mansion's a private property now. Can't just waltz in there. I'd rather die before I even think of begging Wright to let me in and investigate the place. One thing's very clear after these last 2 days, however. We're not safe anywhere and I have to act fast if I want to keep my own friends alive. Can't keep running away. Sooner or later she'll get us like she almost did with Isabella. Before that happens, I have to put an end to this. Sighing, I stand up and stretch out the kinks in my back after several hours of sitting. We've been at this for too long. A break is needed. Time to let everything sink in or else we'll burn out. I know I will, and it's another thing I cannot let happen when they're all counting on me like this. Albeit outspoken, it's in their eyes as they look up at me waiting.
We've been at this for hours. We should take a break for a few...
The rest of it never comes out of my mouth as something heavy and grating sounds from the far end of the room. I just want to make sure. A harsh booming noise rendering through the eardrums of everyone in the room. All at once the two of them are on their feet while I quickly palm for my gun on the table. However, before I can pull it up and remove the safety, the whole racket stops. Stillness descends in the room and amidst the sudden hush, the three of us exchange anxious glances. So much for a break.
I don't like the sound of that. At all.
Gather everything.
No questions asked. They waste no time getting to work, piling up the documents we've been reading through. But before we can even finish, another noise ups the tension already gripping the place. Suddenly the lights go out and the wardrobe at the end of the room rattles as if something inside begs for freedom. Cautiously, eyes glued to it, I take a step forward and release the lock from my gun. I'm no trigger-happy person. I'm not even sure if this will work on a ghost. But right now, its smooth surface against my palm with a trigger on my finger provide the closest thing I have to relief as I approach the closet.
Ashton, I have everything. What are you doing?
I don't think that's a good idea. We should just...
Worried as they both are, they immediately stop at the slight raise of my hand. But the edge is there while they all huddle in the space between the door and the room. In case this goes south, whatever I find inside, they have enough time and space to run from their position. In 2 deep breaths, I've crossed the room and stood in front of the closet. Whatever's inside has yet to stop thrashing. Instead, it has now moved to banging at the door, louder and louder the longer I delay. Another shallow breath. A glance at my companions, a nod. Something creaks. Then in the next moment, I'm grasping at the handles and swinging the doors wide open to reveal nothing. Right away I part the clothes hanging on it and still none. No ghost, no woman, not a single trace of whoever's inside. Confused, I glance back towards Zach and Rebecca only to see them mirroring the same expression on my face. The noise has finally stopped, but I'm quite sure it isn't my imagination.
Or maybe it is and I'm just too strung up that my head's now making things up. Whatever the case is, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. This only confirms we aren't safe anywhere. Without bothering to close it, I move back, ready to leave, adrenaline now coursing through every vein in my body. In the next second, I'm barking orders and...
We should go. You two, we need to...
I'm set sprawling on my back as something cold catches my ankle and yanks. The resulting fall knocks the wind out of me. Pain racks my whole spine and the back of my head as it collides against the floor with force enough to dislodge my own brain from my skull. A moment lasts before stars fade from my vision, and then I sense it. Cold tendrils twisting around my ankles, the smell of vile rot assaulting my nose. Nauseating, sickening, a foul smell draining every feeling in my body. The moment her horrid laughter, still as unpleasant and vicious as the last time I've heard it, reaches my ears, my eyes snap open. Perhaps it's just an experience, or maybe my mind's still attempting to comprehend this. Regardless, the minute my eyes land on her, the whole of my body freezes, the gun in my hand turns useless as my grip on it slackens. It's in the manner her gaze bores on me, I'll say. The look of utter hatred and malice I've seen it loads of times. From suspects, mostly murderers, who never regretted their actions despite being caught. This is the face of someone who can no longer reason with. And I know the moment she laughs again and starts dragging me towards her, it's already going to be the...
Snap out of it!
No. I can't die here. Not yet. The haze fades from my mind and instinct kicks in then and there.
Everyone out! Get out! Get out of here!
With one powerful tug, I yank my foot out of her grip and scramble back to my feet, ignoring the piercing wail she fills the room with. Within the span of a second, I'm gunning for the door, grabbing the wrist of the first person my hand can reach and leading the two of them out. In the hallway, down the flight of steps, and right inside my car. I waste no time flooring on the gas pedal the second the last person closes the door behind them. In a short while, I'm driving out of Salem Well. I don't even entertain the thought of winding down just yet, even as the last of the woman's painful cries fade into the night. A dreary downpour starts off the Monday. Although it doesn't last for more than an hour, the dark clouds lift just after the sun peeks over the horizon. Brief as it is, the rain has significantly dampened the park's usual cheery vibe. Mornings like this often mark the start of another bad week. An arrest gone wrong, another investigation leading to a dead end, or some truly fucked up shit being called in. Like that one time I was dispatched to a scene where a guy gouged his own eyeball out and almost ate it. Was a few chews away from swallowing it, in fact lost my dinner that day.
Fun times.
Of course I doubt anything can top getting cursed by a damn chain letter of all things. This is the sort of stupid thing people pass along as a prank through emails and text messages for fuck's sake. A ghost chasing after you just puts the icing on the cake. So far all we've done is run, snoop around, read stuff and run again. It frustrates me to no end how we're still no closer to an answer. Even my car reflects the state my mind is in. Photocopies of documents litter every available surface, scattered all over the place, spilling from the passenger side and into the back seat, making an entire mess of what little space there is. Not that I'm any better. My last shower was 24 hours ago. I haven't slept at all. My last meal was a slice of cold pizza I bought from a convenience store the night I broke into BRC. The way I am now, I'll definitely get a scolding. Isabella would. Well, she would complain about how dark the bags under my eyes were getting, and how I reek and how I need to shower pronto. Rebecca will definitely give me an earful and tell me to take care of myself better, say that I'm killing myself on the job.
I can rest easy when this is all over.
It's not that I can't feel the pang of hunger. With that woman chasing after you, it's difficult not to feel anything other than horror. The rush of adrenaline courses through my veins in my desperation to survive. In fact, I can still sense the ghost of her touch from last night. Her bony digits wound tightly around my ankle and that horrid smile she has on her as she pulls me closer. The memory is enough to send a shiver up my spine and make me antsy. Perhaps the only thing comforting about this is the sight of my gun nearby.
From my dashboard, sunlight glints off Ophelia's surface. Normally, I keep it hidden in a compartment. Luxborn police regulations only allow authorized people to carry firearms, and even those are limited. I do have that authorization, but I never really saw the need for its use when the standard issue tasers are more than good enough to incapacitate anyone. If not, I can always throw them on their back. Those judo lessons Dad forced me to get as a kid has its uses too. Store might be due this evening, give or take. A shame for the people looking forward to Halloween tonight. I'm not sure whether this is something I can look forward to as well. Not necessarily a bad end. The chatter reaches my ears first, halting my movements. Sure enough, when I glance up to find them, Zach and Rebecca just as they've entered the park grounds, bags of groceries, store food in hand. After last night's flight from Salem, we've elected to stay the night here, unsure if our own homes will still be safe. Normally, we'd all be adverse to the idea of spending the night outside like this, but panic and distress has tainted that decision. It's not like any of us has gotten any ounce of sleep anyway. On the off chance one of us did, it only lasted but a second, or it's a fitful one. But looking at them right now from afar, it's easy to mistake them for just friends on a day out. Zach's booming laughter echoes as he makes vague, wild gestures with his hands while talking. Something funny or amusing, probably, because it's soon followed by Rebecca's giggles. Their voices fill the atmosphere with light air, temporarily easing off the disheartening mood. It's easy to pretend we're not knee-deep in a life-and-death situation the way they're acting now. Easy to forget one of us is still fighting for her life, desperately holding on to it because she can be quite stubborn like that. If anything, it's only their appearance that betrays the mask, slightly disheveled, bags under their eyes, an exhausted curve in their shoulders, and dragging footsteps. But the closer they get, the more obvious these signs are to the naked eye. Zach tosses an energy drink my way the moment the distance allows it. Rebecca hands me the other bag she's holding, but first seating herself on a bench nearby. The scent of warm food immediately wafts from the bag when I open it, carried further by a passing breeze. Whatever sweet sauce they drizzled over this pork wannabe, it smells heavenly. Hell, even the sorry-looking vegetables seem appetizing. Despite myself, without even checking exactly what this is, hunger swiftly takes over every rational thought. I dig in without waiting for them to start. Both of them appear to be of the same mind, too. Soon enough, they also start with theirs. No casual talk while we fill our empty stomachs, exhausted as we all are. Food is something we can't forgo. Starvation dulls the thinking, weakens the body. If we are to survive this, we're gonna have to take care of ourselves first. Isabella would never let me hear the end of it if she was here, though perhaps it is for the better she isn't here to see us. Knowing her, she'll worry despite what goes unsaid between us. In a matter of minutes, we're done and dumping the empty cartons in a nearby waste bin. Along with it is the shift in the mood. Back to Dismal. Back to the problem at hand. The comfortable atmosphere from minutes ago was nice while it lasted. Admittedly, I've missed these kinds of moments between us. We never had the chance, always busy on some project or work. The things we've taken for granted, and now we're realizing how valuable they are. With one of us absent. The world has an awful sense of humor. While the one we've just had is short-lived, it's another thing I want to look forward to if we ever free ourselves from this damn curse. I'd like to believe there's a way. For now we have to focus back on the present, this. Dead people, the letter, the curse. It's not simple to bring these up, but necessary.
Where to now?
It's not a question directed at anyone in particular, but they both look to me as if my face has all the answers in the world. I used to think so back when I was at the top of my game, and I was still sure of everything. Now there's just uncertainty sullying whatever decision I come up with. At some point, logic has simply stopped working here, and we've started grasping at straws. Along with exhaustion, fatigue, and stress, we have enough kindling to get a fire burning. The not-so-pleasant kind of fire.
We can't stay here. We'd be sitting ducks if we remain in one place.
Alright, so we just keep running like this?
We don't really have a choice, Rebecca. We can't even go back to our own homes.
No matter where we go or hide, she's gonna get us.
It still doesn't change anything. You just said it. Nowhere's safe. But dying is the last thing I want to do right now, Zach. Not to a stupid chain letter. Someone was too gullible to pick up and show everyone.
Don't you think it's a bit too late to start laying the blame on someone else? It's not even helping at this point.
Who said anything about blaming anyone? Do you really think I don't blame myself for this as well? Isabella warned all of us. In the first place, we wouldn't even be having this problem if you'd only...
Will you two cut it out? This ain't the place for I don't know, petty squabbles.
Oh, let her say it, Z-Man. Nothing has stopped her from saying what she wants before. Knowing her, I'm pretty sure she has loads of things to say about this.
If you don't want to get caught in it, then stay out of this, Zachary.
And leave it to the two of you to hash it out here?
Zach, you don't have to...
You really want that? Really? Because I'm quite sure this ain't gonna turn out pretty whether or not I stay here. Because every single time, the two of you get into an argument, even before, I have to be the one keeping this whole dumb friendship intact. I'm honestly getting tired of this. For once, can't you two hold a conversation without fighting when things don't go your way?
Damn. He wasn't this pissed when Isabella was here, right?
Then go ahead, leave. No one's telling you to stay. This is just like your movie again.
Oh, this and that are two different things, Rebecca. And you know what? Right now, I'd rather see my movie flop twice over than go through this.
All right, that's enough! Both of you, stop this!
They both faltered into silence at my words, and awkward, stifling mood descends between the three of us. I don't mean to shout, to snap at them, to add to that kindling, not in a moment when anytime, anywhere she might get to one of us. We're all in the same boat, yet here we are, playing the blame game. Little by little, we're falling apart, caving into the pressure to the bleak situation we're trapped in. Did that ghost mean for this to happen? To divide each of us so she can pick us off one by one right after? Who knows? Anything's possible now if her kind can exist. With the fire burning between us rising as high as it does now, I'm afraid, deathly afraid that the possibility might come sooner than I can figure out all of this. Fuck, I still can't think straight. I can't even believe the next words coming out of my own mouth, that out of everyone I have to be the one saying these to them. This is more their forte than mine, keeping the peace, placating everyone while I unintentionally aggravate people with badly chosen words. Funny how fast the tables have been turned after just one unfortunate incident. How am I even supposed to cope?
If we all want to get out of this mess in one piece, we're gonna have to cool our heads first.
Before my own temper flares, I walk away and slide back into my car. If the door slams with more force than needed, I'd like to blame it on the pent-up anger boiling in me. I'm not even sure what or who I'm angry at. The ghost, at them, or maybe myself for being this useless. Because despite none of them saying it, I know, goddammit. They're still counting on me. In spite of my failures or every harsh word I've uttered or how unbearable I can be as a friend. It's there when the tension after the argument finally breaks and one after another they follow me and get in the car. It's in concerned glances they shoot my way when I start the engine without a word and drive off. It's in their silence, a heavy gift, their unwavering trust. Yet it's one I'm more than willing to carry even though my own exhaustion, even if only to keep them safe. In the city of 68,000 strangers, they're the only ones I have left. Though in all seriousness, a good rest is still our best bet for now. Thinking with an exhausted brain is almost as good as running around in circles. We might as well just throw ourselves at that ghost and be done with this. Local Irish pub may not be the best place to hang around when one hasn't slept a wink or you're stressed. More often than not, it's loud. Sometimes the music played by drunkards grates the ears and the whole place smells like piss on a bad day.
You trying to drink your worries away? Like last time? That was screwed up. This one? Screwed up? Not by a mile. It's too early to say. You've still got several years ahead of you, Holmes. Take it easy. But some things change, eh? It has been years, and you were a kid back then. You know, the sort that's a bit unsure, making all the horrible decisions in life he'd eventually be embarrassed to talk about.
You never stop calling me kid, though.
Well, you still are. It's just that this time, you're sure of who that badge and gun is for. What was it you police types usually say? To protect and serve, yeah?
A significant pause follows at its heels, from both of us as he allows its meaning to sink in and spur something in me, stirring a feeling both heavy and forceful, but not completely unwelcome. Familiar. But before I can even clarify what he's trying to imply or gather my thoughts on the matter, G turns away to begin his work on the silverware. He'll need those too once more of his patrons come in for lunch. Slow and easy. A sharp contrast with the strained air we've been wadding through these past weeks. A fleeting moment, but one I allow myself to relish, if only because of its absence lately. The way things are now, this is almost a gift. So when it all ends with the loud shuffling of foot from the adjacent hallway, a sigh is all that leaves me. There's no need for me to look up to know who it is. Zach's treads alone are telling. There's always a weighted set to them, steps that are taken with a lazy cadence. Question mark. Like he's always trying to make himself smaller, less conspicuous than he actually is. In a place he's unfamiliar with, he also tends to linger, stand awkwardly at the sides as if he's all too afraid to break something. For the sake of the one we've almost lost. If I can help it, I don't want her to wake up to this nightmare. It'll only break her. She'll blame herself. It's just funny how it took all of this to spur these kinds of thoughts in me. Can't even remember the last time something like this has occurred to me. For some reason, after seeing one harrowing thing after another, I've simply forgotten.
Why are you suddenly smiling like that?
Huh? Oh, no, I was just thinking about something.
Well, it better be something that'll get us out of this mess.
What makes you think I know how to fix this? Until 2 days ago, I didn't even believe a word you guys have been telling me. Zach, I function better when I'm dealing with homicide cases. Hell, feel free to throw in the usual robbery and missing persons case into the mix. I don't care. Give me a few days and I'll give you a lead. This isn't how I operate. This isn't what I'm good at. For all you know, I might even end up getting us killed. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, the fact that you're frustrated but still trying already means something, Ash. Besides, you don't make that face unless you already have an idea.
There are only two ways this will end. I agree with him and take him with me, or I agree with him and drop the idea altogether.
This won't really bring her back. Maybe this is you trying to make amends, or whatever. I don't know. You're making your own decisions here. But if something happens to you, it'll be just that. You'll just be another dead body out there. Please, don't do something like this.
Don't worry. I'm not stupid enough to get myself killed. I just want things to go back to normal, Zach.
More dead air follows at the heels of that one admission, the meaning of my words too heavy, too striking. It stuns us into another lull. Optimism aside, we're both aware that's impossible. We're going to have to deal with the trauma right after. There'll be the images, the voices whispering inside our heads, the foreboding feeling. The stench of blood, gore, and death trailing after us. We may survive this, but those things, they'll remain in us for a long time. One does not survive something like this without it leaving something in you. Just the mere thought of what might come right after makes me dread it. The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He's always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. But the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements.
and only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by a primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you, might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Although before a single syllable slips past my mouth, he gestures his head on the far side of the pub's main lounge. In a corner, Rebecca paces in deep thought with a scowl on her face. From the looks of it, appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement. In fact, I think she might hit the next person who tests her temper. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible. There's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over Rebecca. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Rebecca's mood can be quite volatile. The imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, no people in sullen moods, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it turns into something chaotic.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already in that state, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after. Part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for the people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm. The air of the pub she's in is almost deserted. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's cross. Whatever pissed her off this time, the way she's glaring at the wall already says everything. Before I can approach and intervene, though, Rebecca soon slumps on the chair. Gingerly, she reaches up to press the bridge of her nose and breathe out a ragged exhale. She only looks like this when stress has drained both her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students do despite being no stranger to it. In the quietness of the room, I find myself drifting towards her and taking the empty seat next to her. Shortly, she leans her shoulders to mine like she used to all those years ago. Back when all that mattered to us were grades and what kind of trouble we'll get into the next weekend. No curse, no letter, no ghosts. Just us and wherever our imagination will take us.
How are you holding up?
Barely, but I'll be fine. It's probably just this curse thing getting to me.
That bad, huh?
She makes a face, having been caught in her lie before allowing a small smile to replace it.
Excuse me? You're stuck in this nightmare too.
At least you're not shouting at anyone. That's something you don't see every day. I think you scared G for a bit there.
I just can't wait for this whole thing to be over. That way we can go back to how everything used to be.
You know that's impossible.
Truth. And we both falter into silence in the face of it. Her mouth opens briefly and I assume she's about to argue her opinion about it. Maybe say something contrary to it. But eventually she simply nods, breathes out, and relaxes her rigid posture, a rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Seeing it, a smile spread across my face, knowing and perhaps a little pleased. It's one thing to know of change. Watching it play out in front of me is an entirely different matter. In that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years, we will never be the same person we once were. And perhaps it's for the better. Rebecca notices soon enough, like she always did. Whatever she sees in my face startles her, causes her to jerk away.
Why are you staring at me like that?
Nothing. Don't mind me.
I know that look, Ashton Frey. That's definitely not a nothing. You wouldn't be wearing that expression if you didn't have something on your mind.
Really? It's nothing. It's just that when we were kids, you weren't really the kind of person who spoke her mind. Someone else always had to stand up for you. You've changed a lot, Becca.
What did you expect? It's been, what, 17, 18 years?
What I'm trying to say is, I think I like this version of you more. Except when you're mad, and you're yelling, and you're glaring daggers at everyone. You're pretty scary, you know.
Well, don't say that so casually. Also, if you're just going to complain, we might as well just end this talk right now.
See what I mean? Even Z-Man's scared of you. I'd bet my entire salary on it.
She swats at my arm, the gesture light and familiar. It causes us both to burst into peals of laughter afterwards. When was the last time we shared something like this? I can't even remember. It's nice, though. To have another conversation like this, to sit side by side simply enjoying each other's company. I'm not very fond of looking back to the past. Most of it means having to remember unpleasant things for me, but sometimes coiled around the bad there are good ones. And Rebecca's there for the most of it. Things may change, but her friendship is one thing I will hold dear. We may meet new people throughout our lives, but that doesn't mean I'll care for her any less, which makes this whole business with the letter even more urgent. I still have one lead. With what's at stake, I can't let this curse win, if such a thing even makes sense when dealing with the supernatural. Tonight, by any means, I need to go back to that cursed place, alone, because who knows what we might find in there. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. My apprehension must have been quite obvious in my face. In a sudden motion, Rebecca reaches out and taps my arm. Although she does it gently, it startles me, nevertheless, and it's enough to put a worried look on her face. For a moment she studies my face, yet scrutinizing. Eyes, scrutinizing, searching. But before I can even avert my gaze, keep her from getting a read on me, she straightens, her worry abruptly fading into a look of disapproval.
You have a plan in mind, don't you?
With a simple yes or no question, I can easily lie, yet her tone completely belies everything her words mean. I may as well tell her everything. When all is said and done, she's still one of the few people I trust. However, every vein in my body knows she'll be the first one to disagree, put her foot down and stop me. And when she does, who else will be left to fix this? Zach? Her? I do understand her concerns, but there are times when they are misplaced. This complication isn't what I need at the moment. But what am I supposed to say? What is she expecting to hear from me? What answer will satisfy her? She certainly appears like she's hoping for more than a yes or no for an answer I can't give at the moment. What else then? What does keep her in the dark mean? Like, I'm just not gonna say anything at all? I don't know, vague answer.
Need to head off somewhere tonight.
A vague answer. It's all I can offer, and hopefully this will be enough. It's not an outright lie, but that though doesn't make me feel any less awful about this. It's worse when you know she's asking only because she's worried. Part of me wants to tell her, admit exactly what I'm planning tonight. What good will it do, though? I've already told Zach one person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware, at least where I'm heading off to, in case things don't pan out. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. Rebecca doesn't need to know the kind of danger I might be throwing myself in tonight. She should prioritize herself and her own safety first before others. But it's never that easy with her, is it?
Am I allowed to ask questions this time?
You're asking one right now, aren't you?
It's a serious question, Ashton. Yes or no?
You can, but I can't promise I'll answer them.
That's a nice way of saying no. You might as well just tell me to shut up.
You know I don't mean it like that.
Is there something I can do at least?
For an instant I hesitate, pausing, fumbling for an answer. It's more difficult with her because all this time she still looks to me as if I'm the same kid from years ago. Who she depended on when she has yet to find herself, who she turned to for answers despite my lack of them. Makes me all the more afraid to fuck up this time. And in case I do, she's the last person I want to be with me. Getting her into trouble, getting her killed is not how I want to repay the friendship she has so generously offered after all these years.
My friends are not supposed to be the ones taking the repercussions of my mistakes. Those are of my own doing, of my own responsibility. I fear a heavy weight on my shoulders. They shouldn't be dragged into this. However, there's one thing I can trust her with.
Stay safe. Keep Z-Man safe. Watch over him while I'm out there. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. You're good with that kind of stuff.
I'm a high school teacher, Ash. Not anyone's babysitter.
A grimace is on her face, but I know she'll do it, even without me asking for it. She cares more than anyone, more than what her fiery temper expresses. And it eases something in me knowing that Zach will have someone like her here. Sure enough, after a stretch of silence, she eventually nods. She does not entirely agree with this. It's in the distant look on her face, but she's willing to trust me on this. For now, that's enough. Either way, it's best that we simply leave things here for now. There's already an understanding, albeit something we both don't agree with. No need to push it further. With the light, reassuring squeeze on her shoulder, I stand up. At the same time, footsteps shuffle from the pub's entrance and cheerful chatter suddenly fills the room as a group of people enter. It's all the distraction I need. Muttering an excuse and flashing Rebecca a quick smile, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave her on her own, despite the troubled look she shoots me. Before Rebecca can say what's on her mind, before the last frustrated glare she directs my way forces me to change my mind. It's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs the conscious among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. Galway Shaw's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight, with the lively music and chatter slipping out mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. "4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. 3 if I'm inclined to go by the rules Z-Man set, but when have I ever? Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. With a brief detour needed, I can't waste time dallying here. If this is all connected, I need that damn piece of paper with me, however ridiculous it sounds. Ooh, is this where Ash is gonna get tortured by Johannes and Luke? If I remember correctly, it's among the stuff Rebecca brought that first night at the hospital. I'll find out soon enough. I just hope Isabella's aunt hasn't read or disposed of it yet. That'll be a whole different problem. So I hurry, one footstep over the other, echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. And it does. In the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. Because as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affection she's asking from me. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold for her feelings that goes beyond the boundaries of friendships. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad that she has stuck with me even through the toughest moments, even when she finds me difficult or aggravating. However, it's really all there is to it. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more.
Rebecca,
I draw in a breath, ragged, unsure. Uncertain how and which words to put together so it will hurt her less, so the wounds they might leave won't be as deep or scar. In the end, I can only utter an apology.
Really sorry, Becca.
Stark refusal.
I'm glad, I'm happy you feel that way, but I can't. I can't. There's already someone that I'm in love with. Someone else.
It takes all of my willpower to force myself to even look at her. For sure, there will be hurt. Maybe she'll even be angry, and I don't hold it against her. And sure enough, when our eyes meet again, her mouth has already settled in a tight line, and she assumes a rigid pose. There's a sharpness to her gaze, but behind it is pain, undeniable, shearing, Something that she tries to hide by hastily looking away and stepping back.
Becca, I know this.
It's all right, Ashton. You don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, but you should. I should.
I told you, no need. It's not like I didn't have an idea or anything. When you think about it, it's really quite obvious. The way you've always looked at her said everything. Anyway, let's just end this conversation here, all right? I don't think it would do us both any good. This is going to get really awkward if we keep at it. When all has been said and done, at least I told you, right? Maybe I can finally let this whole thing go. Who knows? Thanks for hearing me out, though. I won't keep you long. I know you have things to do. Just promise me you won't do anything dumb, all right?
She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she flashes me one last strange smile before walking away, while the only thing I can do is watch her retreating back. In that one moment, one conversation, something also breaks between us. Something irreparable. A different kind of regret. Haunting me amidst the silence of my car as I drive off and leave it all behind. The wind has already picked up upon my arrival at Ermengarde Hospital. Somewhere the faint sound of thunder booms, filtering even through the concrete walls of the place. Though sparsely manned around this hour, the on-duty nurse's lively chatter easily fills the lobby. Some recognize and coax me into joining them when I pass by, but all of it has been turned down in favor of rushing straight to Isabella's room. Her aunt's nowhere to be found when I slip inside. On the bed, Isabella remains still, with a constant beeping of the machines, as the only sign she's still alive. Same as the other day, as well as the day before that, nothing has changed in her condition. And every single time I've stepped into this room, the sight of her weak and motionless still sends a painful pang in me. Despite what her doctors have been telling us, despite what happened during our last visit, I like to believe she will still make it through. And when she wakes up, all of this will be over.
Hey, scaredy cat. Hang in there, alright? I'm going to fix this mess we're in. And once you're okay, you're buying a whole month's worth of ice cream.
That is so incredibly rude. Oh, look at you. You woke up from your long coma, probably haunted by the ghost. Guess what I did? I fixed everything. And now you owe me a month's worth of ice cream, so hop to it.
Wait for me.
She won't be able to answer, not yet. But I imagine her laughing at me right now, daring me to make good on that silly promise, and I will. Finding the letter among her belongings doesn't take long. 5 minutes later, I'm fishing it out from one of the side pockets of the bag Rebecca brought with her before the second night after Isabella's confinement. To think no one bothered to throw this away, I guess that's lucky. I mean, look at this thing. I won't take it seriously if it isn't for all the fucked up shit that's been happening. This is the sort of stupid people pass along as a prank through emails and text messages, for fuck's sake. Did people seriously make copies of this and pass them around to try and save themselves from a possible curse? That's the inane logic that could be garnered from the fact that there are multiple victims. Was Isabella not saved because she had simply shown us this one instead of sending 5 different ones? What sort of selfish person would even endanger 5 other people just to save their own skin? More importantly, what does this have to do with the mansion? There will be time for answers later. I've wasted enough time here. Quickly, I stuff the letter into my pocket. With one last look at her prone form, I close the door behind me and head back to my car. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxbourne and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble seconds later, echoing long across the heavens. And with one last roar, the skies open up in earnest.
What about Isabella?
What about her?
She warned you, didn't she? And you think you deserved even an ounce of her love? How dare you even confess your wretched feelings on her bedside? You can't even save her. You can't even do anything for her.
Says you.
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened
does it feel, I wonder? To know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late. And you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Who could tell my friends what might have happened here? They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic with my chances. McCullough seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons.
Ashton Frey!
Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket full of ice cold water, familiar, too familiar. And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. She shouldn't be here. She should still be at the hospital, safe. Yet it seems a part of me still hangs onto a sliver of hope that she'll be here. So without sparing it some thorough thought, I snap my eyes open. Of course there's no one.
Did you really think she'd be here?
Shut up! All you ever do is rag on me! Get a new hobby! You're so mean! This is why no one likes you! Except for the murmur of voices in my ears, whispering phrases as sharp as a blade, each one as scathing as the next. Words that, although I know my own friends won't ever utter, still digs a deep wound, seeping into me as if they're simply another truth.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
But repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth, they say, and slowly a part of me is starting to believe it. Damn it.
You aren't going to die.
Shut up.
I'm surprised you're still awake.
Another bout of pain erupts in my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood on my tongue as I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
You bastard!
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Then he laughs, too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears in spite of the warmth in them sends chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. He won't hesitate.
And you are going to die alone.
Panic surges within me. Out of some instinct and desire to survive, I ducked. Hard. Pulling him forward with me and quickly reaching over my shoulder to grab at his arm. And throwing him over my shoulder with as much strength I can muster. Something whizzes against my ear, the towel on my neck loosens, my head is pounding. In a rush of air, he lands back first on the floor with a heavy slap. Before he can even recover or make a grab at me, I'm drawing back my arm and bringing my fist down on his face. There's a moment of silence. Fuck, I can barely keep my eyes open, but in the next second his grip on me loosens. He's out, and I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. From my peripheral, through the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler lays still. Maybe it's when she completely dies. Knocked unconscious by a man half his size and half breathing.
She'll be out for a while.
I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. But it's done, and slowly every tense muscle in my body eases. A long, gradual process of the tension lifting.
For countless seconds I remain quiet with only my short breaths and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline ebb away and my breathing to slow. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still the curse. I'm still inside the mansion, in imminent danger. I still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere, white and piercing, and the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. I stir minutes later, once recovered, having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable, as is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow, I can imagine. Retrieving my gun from under the bed is easy, but only with some effort. I'm able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff on his wrist while fastening the other on the bed frame. That should keep him restrained for a few hours while I'm free to get the fuck out of here and do what I've come here for. That isn't to say I'm all better. I still feel shaky after what happened. Everything still hurts, but this is a significant improvement from my previous predicament. Without another look, I close the room behind me, ignoring the whispers and desperate cries still ringing in my ears. Power still hasn't come back when I make my way downstairs. Tricky, considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that'll happen to you.
With the stairs this steep, a broken neck is a likely outcome.
With nothing to guide me through the darkness, I have to feel my way down. Carefully listening for each creak and noise, checking each step I land on before placing a foot on it. Right on cue, the same board I'm stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks, the pieces falling somewhere with a dull thunk.
Oh shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, my foot.
Outside, the winds have intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the window in the attic. It makes you wonder why, up until now, the only person I've encountered from this house is the butler. Although to some degree that makes sense, he is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants, though? In this storm, wouldn't anyone want to stay inside? A likely assumption is they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they've likely assigned as the servant quarters. However, they have also heightened security. I brushed it off earlier thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's room are, but the second floor is devoid of anyone as well. As if every inhabitant of this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that I'm here right in the fucking middle of it makes me all the more queasy. And that feeling only escalates once I reach the landing and swing the door open. Only to be greeted by the kitchen, pots, pans, and all. There's confusion as I look wildly around the place, wordlessly taking in my surroundings. With each turn and shift of my eyes, apprehension slowly dawns on me like a bag of bricks. Wasn't that door supposed to open to a hallway? But the pressing matter right now is... In one corner, Zach and Rebecca watch as almost surprised to see me. Makala's also with them. Of course, she doesn't listen to me, even if I've already exceeded the 15 minutes we've agreed on. Although color and strength seems to have already returned to her enough for her to be able to stand unassisted, the empty plate on the counter appears to have played a part on that. Good news, I guess. As for the other two, however, relieved as I am that they've had the sense not to venture deeper into the mansion, I can't keep but roll my eyes at both of them.
Zach, I said 4 hours.
I know, but Rebecca asked and... Come on, bro. You know I ain't a very good liar. And you know how she is.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
I tried, alright? Even G. She was out the door before I could say anything.
Did you really think you could hide this from us?
I had to, Becca. And how did you guys even get in here?
Both of them exchange a look, one that I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Rebecca who speaks up, albeit with a bit of hesitation.
Someone was screaming, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind me slams shut.
We need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky we're in the kitchen and we have 2 ways out, the back door and the cellar offers. Except the hatch won't budge when I pull at it, and neither does the back door, as if something has locked it firmly on the other side. Zach also gives it a few tries, but even with the big guy's strength, it won't open. There's a long bout of silence in which we simply look at each other, likely sharing the same thoughts. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally led us here. Fuck. In that same moment, once realization dawns in, something shifts again. Blood. In every nook and cranny, over every surface, and in every inch of the floor. This time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of that familiar metallic scent, sharp, suffocating. Around us, every object, including the cupboards, have started to rattle as well. The sounds from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Though inaudible, each beat and note bombards every crevice every crevice in my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining room. It should take us straight to the foyer where the main room is.
Run!
Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we're in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room like it's supposed to open to, the bedroom welcomes us instead. An image that lasts only but a second before blood begins to seep into the room. I mean, technically you're correct, but we will consider those different timelines.
And you are going to die alone.
Zach helps McCullough first, assisting her up and through the gap before giving a hand to Rebecca. The moment the ladies are in, I nod for him to go through.
Go ahead. I'll watch your back.
Surprisingly, he does that without any protest, not that there's any need to. Sometime after entering this room, the whole place has calmed down. No wails, no whispers, just silence, too deafening. But I'm not letting my guard down until everyone's on the other side of this nightmare safe. For all I know, this may just be a calm before another storm. Without further incident, however, Zach makes it to the other side and I'm following after him. However odd this hush is, I turn my back from it and climb up. It's a tight fit, but I manage to squeeze myself in. The unease remains, though. The handgun catches my eyes first, next to that smarmy smile on his face while he holds McCullough, Zach, and Rebecca at gunpoint. It's sight enough to lodge a painful thorn up my throat. I've been too complacent. Too focused on other things that I've completely set aside the fact the scumbag will not be too pleased to see us here without knowing our reasons. I mean, we had other things to worry about, like, I don't give two shits about Luke right now. There's blood on the walls, and in every corner, there are voices in my head that are starting to get irritating. Do you really think Luke will be the first thing on my mind? No. Luke can go bite it. But even with those good intentions, curses and ghostly apparitions aside, we're still trespassing in his home. The question is, if he's even aware that the whole of his household has somehow disappeared and he might be the only one here. Likely not. Fuck. Even with people he knows among the crowd, there's a significant effort in him not to simply shoot everyone on sight.
And really, Daisy? Even you? What would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What about the photographer over there, then? You were the photographer, right? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Please, sir.
Oh, please what?
Rebecca's right, sir. Something ain't right here. We ain't here to harm you or anything. We're just here to help.
Not a good excuse, especially coming from you. Let's simplify it. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman. Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
Casually, he waves the handgun at them as if it's just a mere toy and his words are no threat. The safety's off on his, nothing stopping him from pushing through with his words. Call me paranoid, but at the slight gesture I draw my own and level it at him, finger on the trigger, and ready to release the safety catch in case things go south. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. He's quick to train his own on me, though. Just like that, we're at a standstill. Since we already know what's going to happen with the disarming one, we can do that last. And we'll just get Ash being alive out of the way. My life's not the only one at risk here, however. And from where I stand at the top of the stairs, I can easily make out their forms, recognize them even. It's all gone crazy when these intruders came into my house. I'm no stranger to a cop playing dirty. The smart ones know that neither life nor criminals are going to play fair, and if one of this sort is in on this, I'm not surprised too. But Daisy, what will Kylie think of her, Miss Pink, if the poor tyke finds out about this? Not to mention Mint, Hana trusted her. I trusted her to be a professional at the very least, for fuck's sake. To top it all off, they all have the nerve to look surprised when I announce my presence.
Well, what have we here? If I were any less sober, I'd say this is the beginning of a joke.
Or a bullet to the head is the least all of them will deserve.
Let's see. A photographer, a high school teacher, and an interior designer walk into a mansion.
Thunder crackles once again, cutting me off. This time its sound hits close enough that it nearly feels as if the windows and the ground itself are rumbling. All is deathly still for a moment. I don't let it stop me, however, as I slowly make my way towards them. He's already prey, trapped by his own recklessness.
And really, Daisy, even you, what would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What about the photographer over there, then? You were the photographer, right? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Please, sir.
Oh, please what?
Rebecca's right, sir. Something ain't right here. We ain't here to harm you or anything. We're just here to help.
Not a good excuse, especially coming from you. Let's simplify it. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman. Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
It's just a passing remark, of course. I'm not stupid enough to do something that'll bring negative attention to myself. Reputation and all that, I can't just risk it. The thought of having dead bodies here, ones that I'm not even responsible for, but the ones who trespassed, it's already quite too much. It'll literally be overkill, especially for someone like me. Nevertheless, joke or not, Feathers wastes no time drawing his own gun at the slight wave of my own. Even if he knows it's already too late. It's a slow thing, a whisper more than a bang, as the darkness creeps into every corner of the room. The walls shudder and groan, blood runs from the ceiling, crawls down the walls, and stains the floor. It feels as if life itself is being sucked from the house slowly but surely. The beauty of the place is gone, with only the dead, decaying remains of a mansion left in its wake. I don't have to wonder if it's just the foyer that's become this nightmarish place. I can already hear it. Gone are the growling of thunder and the lashings of rain and wind against the foyer's high windows. All of it has been replaced by a more grating sound. A cacophony of voices from nowhere and everywhere echoing through the now horrid walls. A voice that neither belongs to us nor the people who live here.
What's going on?
All throughout the house, shouts of alarm and surprise ring out, a mirror to the horror creeping up in each of us. Who wouldn't be shocked? This is insane. Even Daisy, feisty woman that she is, trembles at the sight of it, while Steel and Feathers stand protectively in front of her. Brave of them, I have to admit, to put themselves on the front line like that, though it doesn't necessarily mean they don't feel the same fear as the rest of us. Something I don't blame them for. There seems to be no end in sight to this insanity. If anything, this only feels like it's the beginning of the end.
Help me. Oh my god. Please, somebody. Anybody. Who are you? Stay away. No. Stay away. Stay away.
We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
Their screams fill the mansion. She laughs all the while, a harsh, agonizing sound that goes on for what feels like forever.
Of course, by barging into our home. Are you really going to trust them to save your life? These peasants who brought this pox upon us.
Keep talking about us like that, and see if any of us here will keep you out of this place.
The gall of these people. Bloody peasants. My head's already aching just listening to their attempts to defend themselves. Did they all take me for someone with half a brain? Should have just stabbed all of them and made a run for it. Doesn't help that with each second we spend talking here, the crazier this whole place gets. One of us here in particular, amidst the furrow, Mint suddenly stands. I've almost forgotten she's here, her ramblings having faded away in the shouting. And without warning she snatches the paper out of my hand. It's a miracle it didn't rip right there and then. But the way she glares at it, I think she may want to do exactly that.
It's this thing's fault! We should have gotten rid of this thing! We should have burned it at the first opportunity we got! There were children, victims, all because they had no idea what this thing will do to them. Oh god, those poor souls! They were screaming and begging before she... This cursed thing has to go!
She's losing grip with reality. She is a crazy woman is the last thing I want to deal with, for fuck's sake. The whole world has already gone bonkers as it is. The voices have also become louder and somehow sounding more vicious. If the things in this room start floating, mark my words, I will fucking flip out. And they may not be thinking of it right now, but eventually they'll turn on me. Such is the nature of humans. I can't let that happen. Fuck. I still have so much to do. But to find a way out of this place as soon as possible if I want to stay alive. And what else is the source of our problem but that sodding letter? Burning this doesn't seem sound, but who knows. We don't understand a shite about this place. Might as well try everything, yeah. Mint may have a point, as questionable as her judgment is right now. Whatever works. If I also have to be the one to make that bloody decision, so be it. And it's an easy decision to make, especially with these cries growing louder. I'm getting tired of it, really. I simply have to act fast, think fast, and what else is the root cause of our problems but that letter? No need to make things more complicated. It started from there, why won't it end there? If what Mint has said is true, then there's all the more reason to destroy it. But an end to this madness before anyone can think of passing it on to someone else. Before the situation can stretch on far too long for my taste, I snatch the blasted paper away.
Give me that.
For a second she appears offended until I take out my mum's lighter. The sight of it shuts them all up. But I have no need for their opinion. In the next moment I'm already setting the letter on fire. And it doesn't take long for the thing to catch fire. It's old, for heaven's sake. So without Isabella, they just instantly burn the letter. By some stroke of luck or an unfortunate circumstance of fate, Marianne encounters Luke Wright once again almost a year after she returned home. She meets the man in the local marketplace, newly settled, fumbling, and confused. Wait, what is the relationships? It was high. It was not high with Hana, but like it wasn't below. And they still got divorced, though. I think that was the same thing with my first time through. And then, because he spoke with Rebecca, I guess that made their stuff a little better. I wasn't sure if it was maxed out or what. But, like, they had more of a relationship in the first time through. I guess this time it's Marianne. She meets the man in the local marketplace, newly settled, fumbling and confused. Although her opinion of him remains ambivalent at best, she reluctantly offers help. Especially after seeing him stumble on his Gaelic more times than she deems acceptable. And it becomes a start. Not to a close friendship by any means, but perhaps something akin to it. And on better days, when vitriol and scathing words don't get in the way, there's only the pleasant companionship one offers to the other. Casual visits to the other's home, sharing a bottle of wine or two, and simply talking about anything under the sun. A comfort after the things they can no longer have. Something they both eventually learn to accept with time. Things have inevitably become strained between Ashton Frey and Rebecca Gales in the months following her confession and the man's eventual rejection. And with their new work and lives getting busier, the two have eventually drifted apart. Though neither talks about it and the teacher still strives to forget an old flame, it's clear in Rebecca that there are still lingering feelings of bitterness left. If anything, however, this has only made it obvious how much has changed between them, and how much she has clung to the idea of Ashton from their younger days, the one that may not have been there in the first place. Merely an idea for a starry-eyed young girl. But if there will be a time she will be able to accept this, to move on from the hurt and repair an old friendship that has fallen to ruin, only she knows. Oh. I guess the relationship with Rebecca and Luke are still... Oh, damn. Wait, what? They're just at the line. Like, their relationship neither decayed nor went up, but things don't look very good. Things have never been the same for Zachary Steele and Ashton Frey. An argument ensues between the two shortly after they had been released from the Ermengarde Memorial Hospital, although the whys are vague and both have been tight-lipped about the matter after the fight has been broken off, with the room evident only with the bits of conversation bystanders have heard. Perhaps it's even an old grievance they have been holding against each other, only aggravated by what horrific things they've both gone through inside the mansion. All the build-up of Ash always breaking into his room, just the final straw. Whatever the reasons, the two men have kept a considerable distance from each other since then. Damn, was Isabella like the glue? Jesus Christ! Ashton gives the man a wide berth when encountered in a public space. Zach simply avoids places the detective frequents. People who know them have simply assumed the spat will resolve itself in due time. But for the two of them, the way things have panned out, in due time may never even come to pass. In spite of the huge changes in their lives, Rebecca, Ashton, and Zach never forget to visit Isabella Santos, bringing little stories they have no idea if she ever hears, but tells nevertheless, carrying a small prayer that they won't lose her. When they can afford it, they also help her aunt in caring for her. Something the woman appreciates, knowing she can't be there for the sleeping girl every hour of the day. However, though they want to remain optimistic on Isabella's chances, it dwindles with every failed attempt of the doctors to bring her out of the coma, and each passing day the girl stays unconscious. Amidst the constant beeping of machines in her room, optimism is the only thing they can hold on to.
Rebecca!
What? Brief, keen blur barely registers in my eyes, like an arrow quickly finding its mark and heading straight for her. Time slows to a stop. In one moment of clarity, my body moves on its own, heart pounding against my ears, blood rushing through every vein. Spurred by only adrenaline and in a desperate bid to reach her crouched, unsuspecting form, and I don't even get to yell for her a second time. I don't even get to call her name. An acute pain burst through my chest in the next instant. All of a sudden, everything around me feels too sharp, every edge, every point. Even the act of drawing a deep breath alone stings and burns my lungs, while an intense ache slowly spreads through my whole body. Numb. I feel numb. A hand comes away bleeding, shaking, while I can only let out a wet, ragged laugh. Soon, without warning, I'm going down on my knees and the whole world is pitching sideways. An arm, firm and stable, is on me the second I stumble back, catching my fall. She has always been like that after after all.
Ashton?
Wasn't last time it was Zach? I wonder why it isn't Zach this time. Her hands are shaking, her lips are quivering while she looks at me with worry. Tears have started to form at their corners, threatening to spill at any moment, and a pang of regret hits me at the sight of it.
This kind of feels like old times, doesn't it?
Ash, don't.
Sorry, Becca. Looks like this will be the last.
Looks like I won't be able to protect you anymore. Cautiously, despite the stabbing aches shooting up at every movement, I reach a trembling hand up to wipe the tears away. She's never the type to cry after all. My arm never makes it far, however. Midway she meets my hand, catching it in a tight grip as if to still hold on to me. Now that she will be able to. It's all slipping away. Just slowly. The pain is easing, everything's going cold.
Stay put, Ash. We'll get you to a hospital. Don't move. And stop talking. You're making it worse. Don't worry. You'll be fine. We'll get you help.
I'd like to agree with her on that, reassure her. But I've gone through a lot, survived a lot of shit. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that I'm done for. Whatever hit me, a hole to the chest is fatal enough. I don't think I'm going to bounce back from this. I'm dying.
Sorry.
I should be afraid in this moment, yet I'm not. No fear, no dread. Just an acceptance. And a deep regret as she appears before us, her voice echoing throughout the foyer. At the top of the staircase, Hannah Wright stands. To make matters worse, that thing's behind her, menacing, a rotting hand wrapped firmly around her neck. I did not die alone. In the next second, he falls, down on one knee, desperately trying to keep himself up with what strength he has left. But eventually his own body caves in, taking the horrified Daisy down with him, muttering quietly to her as something distinctly red flows from his body. Blood? This man isn't supposed to be dead yet. He isn't supposed to. I didn't shoot him. I'm sure of it. So what killed him? What in bloody blazes is going on here? Is it so wrong to just want a quiet night, where nothing needs attending to, just one normal night? Quickly everything has turned crazy with perilous happenings that are hard to explain. But it seems that when it comes to me, death is always around the corner. I want to look him over. This is going to cause more problems. All this screaming and crying for a detective who's died for no apparent reason is giving me a migraine. I need to get all these people out of my house one way or the other. But in the blurry mess of my vision, none of this registers enough to compel my body to move. All throughout the house, screams of alarm and surprise ring out. Even Daisy, feisty woman that she is, trembles at the sight of it, while Steele stands protectively in front of her. Brave of him, I have to admit, to put himself in the front line like that, though it doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't feel the same fear as the rest of us. Something I don't blame him for. There seems to be no end in sight to this insanity. If anything, this only feels like it's the beginning of the end.
Help me. Oh my god. Please, somebody.
Instead, black tendrils coil around everyone and... I've seen this before. None of us even get to scream when darkness completely envelops us, puts us in a little cute little letter, pink, scented, stamped with wax. Suddenly Hannah steps forward and slaps the knife away that slides usually under the table, and before I can even think, she punches me square in the jaw. I think it's dislocated. My handsome face. It's going to be bruised and ugly. How did I come to think of her as such? As someone who didn't take boxing lessons every weekend? I should have known. I should have remembered. I take out my mum's lighter, and it shuts everyone up. And I don't need their opinion. And I set the letter on fire. Ah, glorious pyrotechnics. Although her schedule has become constantly busy and the amount of research she needs to finish can easily overwhelm her once she misses a day of work, Rebecca has never forgotten the sacrifice a friend has made for her. Even after so many years, she remains a constant visitor where Ashton Frey lies, sometimes staying for an entire day. simply speaking of stories about her work or occasionally ranting to him when things are bad. Admittedly, the wounds are still fresh, but Rebecca trudges on with life instead of wallowing in her grief, knowing the detective will only chastise her for clinging on to her sorrow for so long. She writes, and it is also how she has chosen to hold on to this memory. In spite of the huge changes in their lives, Rebecca and Zach never forget to visit Isabella Santos, bringing little stories they have no idea if she can hear, but tell nevertheless. When they can afford it, they also help her aunt in caring for her, something that the woman appreciates. However, though they want to remain optimistic on Isabella's chances, it dwindles with every failed attempt of the doctors. Amidst the constant beeping of machines in her room, optimism is the only thing they can hold on to. Okay, so I am going to keep this the same round. I'm going to debate whether or not I will kill off Zach. Cause, what was it? When does his... I could just look it up. I don't know why I'm trying to figure it out. So I guess we're keeping Zach alive. Kill him off later. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's not done deal. Like, I'm not putting a stamp on it. But it's gonna happen eventually. Where was the... Let's head back. I think it's gallery. The gravesite one is like a good end. That's interesting. We didn't have any more bad ends. Friendship good. Friendship bad. That's crazy though that Zach and Ash end up getting into a fight. And the only real difference that I even saw was, I guess, like, their relationship didn't really, like, do anything. I just realized we didn't get any romance endings. Okay. The friendship good one is, I guess, kind of like on the boundary with Ashton and Isabella, but it's not counted as a romance ending, so... Oop. Well, we have the one memory fragment from Ash. Then we gotta get the other ones. Wait, there's other... miscellaneous. What's the miscellaneous? I hate this. With the sound and everything. Can't see my mouse, but but you should get it. The only thing that's on this page right now are those two CGs. Okay, so I have a lot of work to do. That won't be apparent to anyone because I still have to... I gotta make the thumbnail. I gotta edit everything. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but the next time I decide to do a long Let's Play, I will not be uploading it right away because I feel so bad. I feel so bad taking so long, and I might as well just keep it hidden away somewhere before uploading it. So that when I finally finish any long stuff, I can just be all like, here we go, everything's written out, finished, scheduled, and I can just let it go by itself. Anyways, that was this half of round 2 And we will be going on to the second half of round 2, where I finally kill off Isabella Santos. The start of this was not so much a mistake as it was a surprise. From what I remember of the CG for Isabella, pretty sure I'm gonna have to be censoring stuff, so yeah. If you want to see how grisly and gruesome it is, there might be somebody else who did it. You might be able to just find it, or you could just buy the game and play it yourself. Ooh, options. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. The biggest difference that we got to see is everyone's reactions to Isabella in the hospital. I'm not surprised that she didn't wake up, considering we didn't actually solve what is going on. So for Isabella, that's likely just like a side effect of the curse and stuff. But yeah. Hope you guys have a good day and a good night. It's been a while since I've said that. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.